Tonight on the Black Channel, there's a cost for being a willing accomplice to white supremacy, and we're here to document it all. The Black Channel is live. Unapologetic, unadulterated, and absolutely uncompromising. Greetings, brothers and sisters from around the world, and welcome back to the home, the haven, the stronghold, and the everlasting superfortress of intelligent black thought. We are the Black Media, and this is the Black Channel, and I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the voice of Black America, the Black Authority, broadcasting to you live from the only historically black college and university of higher education and learning in the cosmos. You are, of course, welcome to join us. And join us you shall, because on tonight's program here, boy, we've got a lot of ground to cover here tonight. We've got a lot of ground to cover here, and I'm going to try to do it as either a sprint or a marathon. We'll just have to see how things go here, as I promised you on last night's program here. Wanted to do a follow-up on this, and I think I can truthfully say here that between tonight's program and Professor Black Truth's latest Sunday address here, between those two, I think you're going to have the 1-2 punch that you really need to have, although we're about to go deep diving into this here tonight, so we want to go ahead and check in those, because when you have a situation where they are literally saying we're going to institute a new Jim Crow, complete with the rewriting of history, completely to indoctrinate your children with outright lies, to indoctrinate them that white supremacy is good. Not that white supremacy just exists, but that white supremacy is in fact good. This is good. Well, we have to be here to document every square inch of this, especially for the folks who've been tacitly helping this along. For the folks who've been helping this along, for those of you who didn't watch last night's program or you've been living under a rock for the last few days here, down there in Florida, Ron the Dummy DeSantis has come out here, and part of their anti-black, they're calling it woke, but it's anti-black, and at least now it's becoming clear to everybody that when they say woke, they mean black. That's racist code for black, because we're the only people that they talk about when they speak about, quote, woke. It's only about the descendants of the slaves, period. And now, see what they're doing there. They're teaching that, they're making it part of the curriculum to say that there were black folk benefited from slavery. Why, if you anything that you learned while you were a slave, why, that was a benefit. Any skills that, and by the way, saying the skills that they claim they taught you, because of course we already had agriculture and all those other things. We already had that. Don't let reality get in the way of anything. Don't let facts get in the way of anything. Don't let facts get in the way of propaganda because we're white and we say so. And I do mean white and we say so, because over there on the right-hand side of the screen is Florida's Education Secretary, Mr. Manny Diaz. Well, Education Commissioner Manny Diaz. So when I told you all here before about Ron DeSantis and his faux Latino persona, his faux Latino status, hopefully it gets clear to people. And it's going to become more clear as the program comes on here tonight, when you see who it is that catches the body blows and who it is who doesn't. But once again, I have to remind you that this is good. This is good. They are out in the open with it, and this is good. This is exactly what we need. This is exactly what we need to see. Exactly what we need to see. Now, first of all, I want to introduce you all to something a little bit different here, because Florida has something called the African American History Task Force. There actually is an African American History Task Force in Florida. It's existed for years, but it's been shrinking. And they've been asking for folks to replace members on it. And they didn't do it till recently, as it were, until recently. And from Channel 10 out of Tampa, they have a good story that will really encapsulate this for you all and get you up to speed really, really quickly here. Good story that's going to go ahead and do that. I want you to go ahead and pay attention here, and you will get the 720 degrees of analysis that you'll receive absolutely nowhere else.
I'm not a belligerent person.
Republican politics. We told you in April that Florida's African American History Task Force has been shrinking for years. After our investigation, the state has now appointed 6 new members. But here's the thing.
Are you a supporter of the Stop Woke Act?
Absolutely, 100%.
The Department of Ed is stacking the task force with allies.
Now, isn't that amazing?
The thing.
Are you a supporter of the Stop Woke Act?
Absolutely, 100%.
The Department of Ed is stacking the task force with allies of Governor Ron DeSantis. 5 of the 6 are active in Republican politics. Some are openly anti-woke, against...
Remember, in Florida, that's anti-black. Remember that in Florida. I know some of y'all are getting ahead of me in the chat room. Yeah, some of y'all are saying, "Wait a minute, I'm sniffing that the paperwork is coming back dirty. I'm sniffing the paperwork is coming back dirty. I'm sniffing that they false flagging. Maybe we got some false flagging, foreign flagging, something going on here. The paperwork coming back dirty. You're getting ahead of me. Don't worry, we gon' get there. We gon' get there. Don't worry about it." But yeah, Governor DeSantis, he said, "Oh, there's an African American History Task Force. Well, I know exactly who to put on that. I know exactly who to put there. Don't worry, we gonna get there." But here's a brief aside. Could you imagine an LGBT task force that tells you that they are anti-LGBT? Could you imagine that? Could you imagine them claiming to set up an LGBT task force that is anti-LGBT? White supremacy always does things initially as a joke. Oh, it's a joke. Ha! Ain't this funny? And then you find out later, nobody's laughing because it ain't a joke.
The Department of Ed is stacking the task force with allies of Governor Ron DeSantis. 5 of the 6 are active in Republican politics. Some are openly anti-woke, against diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, and opposed to the AP African American Studies curriculum. And their first meeting got heated.
This has been one of the most asinine discussions I've had in a long time.
Let's see what's brewing. Hey, I'm Jenna Bourne, and I'm an investigative reporter at 10 Tampa Bay. If you're new here, welcome to our caffeine-fueled deep dive into issues that matter to you. Surrounded by images of civil rights figures and educators, this is Leaders Row. The path in Tampa's Perry Harvey Park felt like the right place for this conversation.
All our students need is an opportunity. First of all, to find out who they are and understand the richness of their culture.
You might remember African American History Task Force Vice Chair Dr. Samuel Wright from our previous story.
We shouldn't just talk about Harriet Tubman or talk about Rosa Parks. We need to talk about all of the contributions that black folk have made in America.
Florida law.
Let me go ahead and touch on that here for just a moment. Everyone should learn our history as the foundation of this nation. They should learn that we are the economic, if America's set up for capitalism, they need to learn that we are the economic foundation of this nation. We are also the military foundation of it, who were the first people to die. We are also the cultural foundation of this nation. We created this nation's culture from top to bottom, so everyone, black, white, Asian, Arab, Indian, everyone should be required to learn our history, because you cannot understand America without understanding the foundation of America. You cannot understand America's music, America's culture, America's mores, America's morals, which the founders did not enforce. It took black people to say the Constitution needs to live out its creed. We were the ones, we have been the moral and intellectual foundation of this country from the very beginning. So it is physically impossible for you to actually understand America without understanding us. And I'm specifically referring to those of us who were here before the Civil War. Specifically, you cannot understand it outside of that because you don't understand our experience. So if you want to be a white person and you want to sing American music, then you must learn the foundation. No, you don't have it in your genealogy, but you need to understand where the creators of it came from. You see, you haven't learned anything until you see where the creators of what you singing came from. When we say soul music, you need to know what those souls were. Not George Washington. Those are not the souls that did this. The souls that overcame George Washington. So it is essential that all students learn our history, not some Nazi Germany bastardized fantasy cooked up by white supremacists. It's essential that they learn that. But remember what I told you all here weeks and months ago. In the white supremacist mind today, if history no longer serves white supremacy, then to hell with history. They are showing you we will destroy, we'll annihilate history itself if it no longer serves white supremacy. History can die. We'll just start from where we are. Who cares if it's lies and everything else? We'll just start from here. That's how committed to this they are. The genocide of people, the genocide of cultures, the genocide of history itself. Who are the greatest criminals in the history of mankind? I suggest to you that they are still very much alive, very much well, and very much active to this very day. And uniting all of their European cultures. As I told you over a decade and a half ago, these are all European cultures. Whether the name is DeSantis, Italian, or Diaz. White, Latino, the European cultures are all in agreement on one thing, as I told you over a decade and a half ago.
Harriet Tubman or talk about Rosa Parks. We need to talk about all of the contributions that black folk have made in America.
Florida law requires schools to teach Black history, and the Florida Commissioner of Education's African American History Task Force helps districts comply. In April, we reported that task force had shrunk to just 4 voting members. Only 2 of them showed up to the most recent meeting. The Department of Ed hadn't appointed any new people in years, despite members recommending nominees to the state.
So you all see what the state of Florida has been doing. They've just been allowing the task force to basically wither on the vine. Benign neglect. You see it in your neighborhoods. You see it at your schools. You see it with crime. You see it in the environment. You see it in infrastructure. You go to the black part of town, potholes everywhere. The white part of town, they're constantly redoing the roads. So neglect is an historic standard weapon of white supremacy with black people. If you do get something that specifically got your name on it, next thing you know, you have a name, but it gets no money. It gets no funding. It gets no attention. So you don't have any affirmative action that benefits you, because if there were, we're going to defund it. There won't be any money for it. There won't be any help. And we'll just let it disappear. And then black folk will be sitting there saying, damn, we need some people who going to represent us on these history curriculums in school. We have a whole task force. We do? We ain't seen them. We haven't heard them. Oh, well, they have to be appointed. They're not elected. They have to be appointed. They have to be appointed. So we wake up in a couple of decades, and next thing you know, we talking about we need a Black History Task Force for the schools. You already have one. But the folks who are in charge of the budget, they're like, yeah, you can have all the task forces you want to, just so long as we control the money and who's appointed to it. And you saw, by the way, remember you saw the same thing in Houston. They're appointing people for the school board to whitewash that one and to indoctrinate with white supremacy. They're appointing people for that in Texas, in Oklahoma. It's like, yeah, this is too important to put up for a vote. We don't need to have a vote for this with the public. Don't worry, we'll take care of your genocide. We'll take care of that for you.
Appointed any new people in years, despite members recommending nominees to the state. Days after our investigation came out, Dr. Wright wrote this letter. He asked the Department of Ed to appoint new members before July 1st and asked for a list of nominees they were considering immediately. A couple weeks later, on May 12th, task force members got this email saying the Department of Ed had appointed 6 new members effective May 11th.
Well, that didn't take terribly long once the media put a spotlight on it, now did it? If you all agree with what I'm saying here tonight, that this is critical, crucial, and key, give me the fire emoji in the chat room and hit the likes button for me. It's almost 4,000 people in here live right now. We must have a bunch of Ron DeSantis supporters, folks. If you agree with what you're hearing here tonight, give me the fire emoji in the chat room and hit the likes button for me. Otherwise, we'll go ahead and wrap things up here. But this is no time to be sitting on the fence. When people come across this program, they need to see that the people listening here live are engaged and agree with what they're hearing here. Folks can see the number of folk in here and they can see how many people like it. We need to make sure that folks understand it's not just 1 or 2 people who are in agreement here, that we are in unison over this. That's how crucial this really is. It's not a game, it's not a joke. This is how crucial this actually is. This is life and death survival that we're talking about. If you can erase the greatest crime in human history, then white supremacy will be eternal, because they will tell you ain't no white supremacy. Read your history book. Well, there's slavery. No, not slavery the way you talk about it. It wasn't that bad. And anything you heard was bad. That was embellished. Now let's find out about these African-American History Task Force members.
You know, the day before. Did the Department of Education the Department of Ed to appoint new members before July 1st and asked for a list of nominees they were considering immediately. A couple weeks later, on May 12th, task force members got this email saying the Department of Ed had appointed 6 new members effective May 11th. You know, the day before. Did the Department of Education consult any sitting members of the task force on these new appointees?
No, not at all.
How did it feel being told after the fact?
It wasn't a good feeling. It really wasn't.
Task force members tell us they didn't nominate any of the people selected. It's unclear who nominated or vetted these people, because the Department of Ed still hasn't responded to any of our questions.
Okay, so in other words, the members who are already on the task force for years have been suggesting names, suggesting people who should be appointed to the task force. That had been going on for years. The state didn't take any of those names, didn't take any of those suggestions. Then out of the blue, they send you a letter on May 12th and told you, oh, yesterday we appointed 6 new members. Yeah, you don't know any of them. Don't worry. We do. That's what you're up against here now. I'm white and I say so. This is white supremacy. I'm white and I say so. You see, this is the kind of stuff that happens with black folk. You can't name any white person anywhere, any white community anywhere that's seen anything like this. They've never experienced anything like this. You don't see some kangaroo court stuff like, see, when black folk are involved, it turns into a whole damn kangaroo court. There's no constitution, there's no rules. It's Alice in Damn Me Wonderland. With the Mad Hatter and the Queen of Hearts, it literally turns into Alice in Wonderland through the looking glass. It goes completely irrational and crazy. All kinds of stuff gets crazy when we're targeted.
Any of the people selected. It's unclear who nominated or vetted these people, because the Department of Ed still hasn't responded to any of our questions. But the letter those new members got says it was Education Commissioner Manny Diaz who ultimately appointed them.
We don't.
Oh, Education, Commissioner Manny Diaz. The guy over there on the right. There's Ron DeSantis on the left and his henchman, Manny Diaz, over there on the right. So just in case you want to know why I brought him up earlier, there's Mr. Diaz over there. The Black and Brown Coalition is struggling right now, y'all. The Black and Brown Coalition is struggling in the state of Florida. The Black and Brown Coalition is struggling. If for years you wonder why you hear so many crazy things floating around and whatnot, folks sitting up here supporting all kinds of white supremacists in Florida, you want to know where it is? I'm just showing you where this comes from, where this kind of widespread support comes from. Just thought I'd go ahead and give you a very brief reminder of who Mr. Diaz is.
Things need to be shoved down our throats about what needs to be done. And I thought it would be nice had they shared those with us prior to making those final appointments. And as long as they don't stifle the progress of the committee, then fine, we welcome them.
We looked into each new member's background and found 5 out of the 6 are active in Republican politics. 4 of the 6 have previously been appointed to positions by Governor Ron DeSantis. Only 2 of the 6 have been a school board member or worked for a school district. Let's start with the lone Democrat of the new.
Now, let's not start with Representative Kimberly Daniels. As a matter of fact, let's just skip her for now. I know, it might seem like I'm doing, don't worry about this. Let's just skip her for now. We'll come back to that one. That one is particularly pernicious. Look it up. That one's particularly insidious. We'll come back to her, though.
Let's talk about the only new member who's worked for a school district, Tori Alston. Alston previously worked for Miami-Dade County Public Schools as its Economic Equity and Diversity Compliance Officer, and then as its Executive Director for the Office of Economic Opportunity. Governor DeSantis appointed Alston to the School Board of Broward County last year.
As we look at the math.
Hairline much? Hairline much?
Math, reading, and writing scores for all different demographics. So we're in crisis.
By the way, you'll start noticing a pattern here. Noodle necks. You start noticing these dudes with these little noodle necks. They're real slender. You start noticing these real slender noodle necks. You start noticing that. By the way, I thought that was the first thing I thought about this. You start noticing that type of build on them there. So Ron DeSantis knows where to find them. He knows where to find them.
He's now the chair. Before that, the governor appointed him to fill a vacancy on the Broward County Commission. Alston also worked as chief of staff at the Florida Department of Transportation.
Boy, I'm telling you, take a look right here. Take a look here.
Broward County Commission. Alston,
in the words of Ice Cube, not another nigga in sight. He's surrounded by white folk here. That's how you know. See, for the rest of us, we'd be like, hey, wait a minute. Ain't no other black. I'm the only black person in the room. I feel a little anxious. This guy's here. He's right at home, boy. He's ready to start boiling some hot links. He's right at home. So you start to notice something here. You're the only black person in the whole room full of white folk who are white supremacists, hostile as hell, and he's just sitting there cheesing like they're not going to throw him on the grill. So just wanted you to notice that, by the way. He's surrounded by nothing but white folk here, and that's how you know there's a problem.
Also worked as chief of staff at the Florida Department of Transportation during the DeSantis.
Once again, by the way, he's got no problem being basically the only one there. I guess that's his woman over there with the kids, but he's all the way over here. All right.
Administration. Now to Glenn Gilzine, who was just voted in as the new district administrator by the Governor DeSantis appointed.
Gilzine. Okay. Do we even need to Google that one? Gilzine. Do we even have to Google that one? Maybe we'll just save ourselves the time. Do we even gotta Google that one?
The DeSantis administration. Now to Glenn Gilzine, who was just voted in as the new district administrator by the Governor DeSantis-appointed Central Florida Tourism Oversight District Board.
The key of the role is just to really keep the trains on track.
He's also chair of the Florida Commission on Ethics, a spot that, you guessed it, Governor Ron DeSantis appointed him to last year. That's kind of his thing, actually. Republican Florida governors have appointed him to 6 positions since 2012. He also used...
Well, ain't that so? He's basically their pet token Negro. They just call him, oh, we gotta appoint somebody? Call him up. He ain't doing nothing. Don't worry, it's not like he has a real job or anything. Just call him up. He's on call for us. He's on call for us. Yeah. Folks, you got to understand, see, I told y'all these kind of things here before. When you're dealing with the white supremacist power structure, especially in politics and things, they don't leave stuff to chance. They don't leave anything to chance. You have to be a known quantity. They've been following you for decades, not years, decades. Decades. They know who you are. They've been following you around the whole damn time. They're not going to take any chances there. There's a reason why you can't get real black folk on these kind of commissions and things. When they're appointed, they make sure it's like, oh, we know who you are. You're a troublemaker. Yeah, not you. Don't worry. We got a bought and paid for a nigga in our back pocket. We just call him up whenever we need some.
...to last year. That's kind of his thing, actually. Republican Florida governors have appointed him to 6 positions since 2012. He also used to be on the Pinellas County School Board. Gilzine wrote a guest commentary for the Orlando Sentinel opposing the AP African American Studies curriculum that Governor...
Now, by the way, the title on that says African American Studies course is about pushing an agenda, not education.
Sentinel opposing the AP African American Studies. Florida governors have appointed him to 6 positions since 2012. He also used to be on the Pinellas County School Board. Gilzine wrote a guest commentary for the Orlando Sentinel opposing the AP African American Studies curriculum that Governor DeSantis' administration blocked earlier this year.
This course on Black history, what's one of the lessons about? Queer theory. They have stuff about intersectionality, abolishing prisons. That's a political agenda.
Gilzine's commentary said the curriculum clearly has a component that does...
Now, abolishing prisons, that goes back to the 13th Amendment, which is the only thing in the world that has a prison loophole in the Constitution. The Constitution of the United States specifically has a prison loophole for slavery. Specifically referring to us, the former slaves, specifically referring to us as the former American slaves. There's specifically in the Constitution a prison loophole. Well, we're abolishing slavery, and then as soon as they say we're abolishing slavery, implanted a loophole. Next thing you know, who's disproportionately locked up in America the most? Who is targeted by the prison industrial complex the most? Yeah, kind of seems like you were never supposed to go free. We'll give lip service to it, but we'll let you move around, but don't go too far. Don't go too far now. So once again, you cannot discuss Black history without discussing the prison industrial complex because it's literally in the American Constitution. But once again, you gotta remember, Ron DeSantis is like, yeah, damn that 13th Amendment. He'd like you to forget that one altogether because not only does this mean you're slaves, but also, even if you don't think you're a slave, well, there is no prison industrial complex unless you actually go and read it. So just understand, I'm putting this in perspective for you all, the 720 degrees of analysis. By the way, Jason, why do we gotta know about abolishing prisons? Well, at least you should have the discussion about it. Dr. John Henrik Clarke talked about this as well. In case you were wondering, Dr. John Henrik Clarke talked about this as well when he said that as a people of African descendants, we didn't have a word for prison because we didn't need one. We did not need a prison system. Medieval Europe needs one. The Romans need one. The Greeks need one. We didn't need a prison system. So when you start talking about this, like, by the way, have you thought about the idea that do you actually need a prison system? Well, why do you need one? Why do you have to have that? Who told you that there must be a prison system? Is there a way to operate a society that does not need a prison system? Certainly not one of the gargantuan scale of the one in the United States. Certainly not one of that gargantuan scale. Why do you need that? You're 5% of the world's population, but 30% of the world's prison inmates or so, 30 or whatever the number is, 30 or 40% of the world's prison inmates? How is it you're 5% of the population and you got more people in prison than China, Russia, and all these other places? How is that? Your prison must be for something else. Your prison must be for something else. It can't be based on a criminal statute because something else is going on here with your prison system. Has to be. Oh, well, the prison system takes off right after we freed the slaves over there. That's when the prison system needed to take off. Oh, sounds like you replaced the plantations with something else. Well, don't worry. We're not going to teach that in school.
Theory. They have stuff about intersectionality, abolishing prisons. That's a political agenda.
Gilzine's commentary said the curriculum clearly has a component that does nothing to advance the teaching of Black history, but only the political agenda of a small minority.
Well, we'll have to get him straightened out and educate him.
Dr. Francis agenda of a small minority.
Well, we'll have to get him straightened out and educate him.
Dr. Frances Presley Rice is chair of the National Black Republican Association.
Well, yeah, ain't hard to figure out how she got the nod, ain't it? Boy, I'm telling you, man, they said, look, we're going to do our coon Rolodex. We're going through our coon Rolodex. We got a playlist of bootlicks. We're just going one after the other after the other. One after the other. Boy, I'm telling you. It's like you don't have to give me any of her other credentials. This is all I need to see right here. Right here. And by the way, the National Black Republicans Association is so influential, none of y'all heard of this woman before today. That tells you how much they're doing for Black people. They're doing so much for Black people that you never heard of them before today. Understand something, folks. If somebody tells you that they're benefiting you, you should be hearing about them and knowing about them and able to name what they did. It shouldn't be some anonymous damn person you never heard of, ain't did anything anywhere. You can't name anybody they work with. You can't name anything. Next thing you know, I'm National Black Republican Association. What have y'all done for Black folk? We never heard of you before today. You're so influential. You all are so active. Your association is so active. We never heard of you. That tells us everything we need to know.
Frances Presley Rice is chair of the National Black Republican Association. She's a retired lawyer and U.S. Army colonel. According to her Facebook, she works on documentaries about African American history.
Ma'am, Tariq don't need no damn assistance. He really doesn't. And by the way, according to her Facebook, she works on African American history documentaries. No, I heard Tariq don't need your help. The new Black media does not need your help. We really don't. We got this locked down. That's why folks have heard of us. We're Amazon bestsellers and you are on a poster at Walmart. Have you seen this coon? So, no, ma'am. I don't know what the hell you think you doing moonlighting, but trust me, you ain't got a prayer. Just hang it up.
Is chair of the National Black Republican Association. She's a retired lawyer and U.S. Army colonel. According to her Facebook, she works on documentaries about African American history. Governor DeSantis also appointed new task force member John Davis to his current gig, Secretary of the Florida Lottery. He previously held a leadership role with the Republican Party of Florida.
Okay, let me get this straight. This guy used to work for the damn lottery. His qualification to be on this task force is what? He worked for the lottery? Folks, on the one hand, you want to laugh about this. On the other hand, it's like, oh, this ain't really no joke. This really ain't no joke. See, this is what happens when you are black in America. When we talk about white privilege, this is what happens when you're black in America. They'll go grab some Sambos somewhere, and next thing you know, it's like, wait a minute, this is some crazy stuff. This is some Ronald McDonald stuff. And they sit there telling you, yeah, you're going to have to live with that. See, white folk can't name for you anything like this. They can't name for you someplace where this is happening to them on their school boards, on their county commissions, on their education boards, on their parole boards. You ain't found nothing like this, ever. You never seen this before. Black folk, this is just another day. This is just another day in black America. You damn right we need reparations. Cut the check. When you got this kind of underhanded mess going on, you damn right we need reparations. Because this is specifically targeting the children of the slaves. You damn right we need reparations to deal with something like this. When the deck is stacked against you this irrationally and insanely, you damn right we need reparations. Oh, absolutely we do. Hashtag cut the check. You better believe we do. You know, why do y'all need reparations? Because this is what we've been living under. And it continues to this day. And it is part of a conscious agenda to target us. Specifically for our status as the freedmen. Specifically for our status as the descendants of the slaves. Not for anything else. That's why they grabbed a bunch of tethers and a bunch of immigrants. Because they're the folks, those are the ones using targets. Why? There must be some difference. Obviously, their dark skin is not an impediment to them working with white supremacy. So obviously, it goes beyond, it goes more than just skin deep. It must be because we have an experience and a lineage that these others don't have. Which is why they get real quiet. Y'all got to watch out for these folks with these last names. No disrespect to the on-code folk, but this is why we need y'all to speak up louder. We wouldn't have to say nothing if y'all was doing a lot more talking. We call out our coons every day. The rest of y'all need to be calling out yours. They sit up here, they got these Latino last names, these Haitian last names, these Jamaican last names, these Dominican last names, and they supporting white supremacy the whole damn time. This isn't the time to be sitting there being quiet. This is not the time to be sitting there being quiet. This right here is a damn joke. But then again, a lot of these folks come from places where this is where their political systems work. So they respect. I didn't just say they recognize or they accept. I'm saying to you that they respect corrupt governments that operate this way. They have respect for that. As far as they're concerned, that's exercising power. They're perfectly fine with this kind of nonsense, with this kind of blatant chicanery. They're cool with that. Because to them, that's what they're accustomed to. They meet us and we say, no, we ain't going to have it. They're looking at us crazy. What do you mean you're not going to have it? What is wrong with this? What do you do? Next thing you know, they get political appointments. You got this other jackalope done got called 5 or 6 times. Can't get us to get a phone call once. He gets called 5 or 6 times. You see, that's what happens when you help racism, white supremacy. That's what happens when you help it. Then they'll sit up here and tell you, you're not work hard enough. You don't need to work hard. Just work hard at kissing white folks' asses? I think not. I think not. Your lips might be a butt broom, but mine ain't.
Florida lottery. He previously held a leadership role with the Republican Party of Florida, according to...
Well, don't that sound familiar? Yeah, don't that sound familiar? So they just grabbed their bought and paid for bootlick Negroes and threw them up on the Barbie.
Florida, according to Politico and News Service of Florida. And finally, number 6. Out of all of these new appointees, Florida House Representative Bernie Jacques is the only one who agreed to talk to us. He represents Largo and parts of Seminole, Pinellas Park, and Clearwater.
So my goals with the task force is to make sure when it comes to African American history that we are involved in education, which is very important, and not indoctrination. And really just teach our students the basics and not ideologies that makes them either hate each other or hate their country.
Governor DeSantis previously
It is not your job to tell the students what to think. It's only your job to give them the facts and the necessary information. It's not your job to say, oh, we don't want you to hate America. You're not here to define what that should be. That's called indoctrination, folks. When someone tells you, I want to make sure you don't think a certain type of thought. Yes, I want to conduct a curriculum that prevents you from thinking certain things. I don't want you to get wrapped up in wrong think. I want a curriculum that stops you from thinking the things that I don't want you to think. That's not your job. That's not your position. That's not your occupation. You're not here to tell the children what they should be thinking. You're not here to tell them you should love science. Well, you might love science. Then again, you might find science to be dangerous. We're not here to tell you what to think. We're here to teach you how to think, but not that is the process of being able to think. But we're not here to teach you what you should think. So just be very, very clear. This guy is telling you that he's against indoctrination, but the first thing he tells you is, I'm here to indoctrinate you.
Goals with the task force is to make sure when it comes to African American history that we are involved in education, which is very important, and not indoctrination. And really just teach our students the basics and not ideologies that makes them either hate each other or hate their country.
To teach them the basics, that's not what Black history is for. That's not what our history is for, is to have the basics. This isn't reading, writing, and arithmetic. You got 2 + 2, okay, you good. We're not here to get the basics. Our history is entirely too broad. We built the country with the foundation of it. Our history is entirely too broad. So for him to say this, is he's telling you, I don't want you to know anything but, quote, the basics. He's telling you what it is. He's saying what they're doing. This is indoctrination.
Our students the basics and not ideologies that makes them either hate each other or hate their country.
Governor DeSantis previously appointed Representative Jacques to Florida's 6th Circuit Judicial Nominating Commission. In his first legislative session, he co-sponsored a bill that the governor signed into law in May, banning Florida.
By the way, once again, those are all his buddies around him. So he feels real comfortable, doesn't he?
That the governor signed into law. DeSantis previously appointed Representative Jacques to Florida's 6th Circuit Judicial Nominating Commission. In his first legislative session, he co-sponsored a bill that the governor signed into law in May, banning Florida colleges and universities from spending public money on programs or campus activities that promote diversity, equity, and inclusion, also known as DEI.
Do you think DEI has a place in K-12 schools?
I don't. This DEI concept, it really puts a damper, especially if you're a minority student, that somehow the chips are stacked against you, that somehow past occurrences are holding you back now.
Okay, now what he just said is indoctrination. Now that was indoctrination. You shouldn't think that the chips are stacked against you. Whoa, whoa, whoa. That's not your job to try to persuade the children that the chips are not stacked against them. They're supposed to just get the facts, take a look at their lives, and if they take a look at the facts of history in their lives and come to the conclusion that the chips are stacked against them, then that's teaching them how to think. Whether you agree with it or not is irrelevant. When you start saying, I don't want you coming to a conclusion that I don't agree with, this is beyond indoctrination. This is brainwashing. This is brainwashing the children. White supremacy believes in going at your kids. Because you got to understand, in the minds of heinous individuals like Ron DeSantis, the current generation is lost. They're already conceding defeat on this ground. Let's see if we can poison the next generation. You know, the way we did with these newcomers we brought over here. They already come pre-brainwashed. And hopefully, the descendants of the slaves walking around here will take a look at this joker and tell themselves he's one of us. Well, if you go and take a look at the paperwork, oh, hell yeah. If you go and take a look at the paperwork for Florida Representative Bernie Jacques, LobbyTools.com shows you, oh, wait a minute. Oh. Down here in personal info, this ain't Jason Black talking. We checked the paperwork. The paperwork came back dirty. The paperwork's come back dirty. The paperwork has come back dirty. Dirty as hell. And let's be clear about what makes the paperwork dirty. When you come from a place like Haiti, he comes from Haiti, and he's the biggest buck-dancing, sandal-wearing Sambo you gonna meet. That's the paperwork coming back dirty. Folks, somebody got to say it. I gotta say it tonight. I gotta tell you just like it is. The spirit of Dessalines is dead in Haiti. The spirit of Dessalines is dead. The spirit of L'Ouverture is dead in Haiti. Dead and gone. Dead, gone, buried, pushing up daisies. It's over. The spirit of Dessalines is done. We just gotta call it for what it is. We gotta call it for what it is. The spirit of Dessalines is dead and gone. Now they're over here trying to infect us. You only got a few riders who might be running around Haiti, but other than that, the spirit of Dessalines is dead and gone. We just got to call it for what it is. They are now actively looking for and seeking out a white ass to kiss and white boots to lick. Literally what they doing now. Shamelessly. Shamelessly. The only time that they want to talk about racism is when there are more of us around. Then they try to sit up here and be a wolf in sheep's clothing. But we're going to have to call it for what it is. The spirit of Dessalines is dead. The spirit of Dessalines is dead, and they killed it.
Also known as DEI.
Do you think DEI has a place in K through 12 schools?
I don't. This DEI concept, it really puts a damper, especially if you're a minority student, that somehow the chips are stacked against you, that somehow past occurrences are holding you back now.
So you don't think that past occurrences in the Black community are holding back those children now?
No, this is a land of tremendous opportunities. And when we teach history, we should teach it all, right? The good, bad, the ugly, everything in between. But to tell somebody today in 2023 that because of the way they look, that they're somehow less likely to succeed, I think it's wrong. I would not be where I am today if I thought that.
Jacques.
You are where you are today because you are shameless and unscrupulous, and you are willing to kiss white folks' asses until they shine like new pennies. The rest of us are not going to do that. Furthermore, when he says when he got where he is today, nigga, where you at? Where you? I couldn't have gotten where I am today. Where you at? Where are you? A shameless ass-kissing bootlick who answers a toady who jumps and answers to Ron DeSantis every time he says some anti-black nonsense. Where the hell I wouldn't be where I am today. You mean firmly up in these white folks' boots? You mean that? He talking like he's a Fortune 500 CEO. He's talking like he got it made. He's talking like he's living down there in West Palm Beach. This fella up there in Clearwater. He talking like he's down there in West Palm Beach. Like he's down there in Brickell, lifting it up. Listen to him. I wouldn't be where I am today. Feet smoking from running from Haiti. Take a look where I'm at. I'm doing big. I wouldn't be where I am today. Nigga, where are you? Where you at? Where you at? You talking like you running things. You talking like you calling shots. wouldn't be where I am today. Really?
That they're somehow less likely to succeed. I think it's wrong. I would not be where I am today if I thought that.
Jacques opposes the AP African American Studies curriculum we mentioned earlier. We asked him about the Stop Woke Act that Governor DeSantis signed into law last year. Among other things, it changed Florida's law requiring students to learn about Black history, adding that classroom instruction and curriculum may not be used to indoctrinate or persuade students to a particular point of view.
You mean like not hating America? It shouldn't be used to indoctrinate them or persuade them to the point of view. Oh, it shouldn't be used. You shouldn't come out hating America. Well, then the only way you can make that happen is if you persuade them. If you indoctrinate or persuade them. By the way, because that's the only way you can come to that conclusion. So there's no way in the world you're going to have a bunch of kids who are all going to agree that everything's all right with America. There's no such thing as a perfect political system, no matter how you try. So if you got kids, it's natural to have people who study this and say, hey, there's a problem with this. So if you got a bunch of kids and he's in here saying it's their goal to make sure that you don't hate America. That is indoctrination and persuasion of students to a particular point of view.
Are you a supporter of the Stop Woke Act?
Absolutely, 100%.
What does woke mean to you?
Well, woke to me is Marxist ideology. So it's a divisive ideology that pits people against each other based on the way they look.
We want to point out that's not how Governor DeSantis' own lawyer defines it. During court proceedings in December over the governor's ousting of Hillsborough State Attorney Andrew Warren, which is a whole story in itself, Florida Politics reported that DeSantis' general counsel, Ryan Newman, was asked to define woke. And he responded that woke is the belief there are systemic injustices in American society and the need to address them.
Florida is where...
Wow. So in other words, the thing that they object to, I want you to understand this. Listen very carefully. The thing that they object to, the thing that they claim is, quote, woke, is the belief there are systemic injustices in American society and the need to address them. Not just that there are injustices, but that they need to be addressed. That's woke. You do understand that the LGBT issue doesn't apply here. Did you get that? So glad that we have Ron DeSantis' attorney who went to court and defined what they mean by woke. Folks, when you hear about this gender studies and gender ideology and whatnot, please understand, well, that doesn't apply here. That doesn't apply here. You see, we are on the fifth step to Nazi Germany, when instead of the Jewish question, it is now the freedman question. The descendants of the slaves question. The black question of the descendants of the slaves. That's the question they're asking now. It's no longer the Jewish question, but the black question. What they're saying is that the problem is this idea that we're teaching that there are systemic injustices in American society and that they need to be addressed. Well, this has nothing to do with LGBT then. LGBT, whatever their issues are, that's something totally separate. That has nothing to do with what he just said here. This does not target LGBT. This doesn't have anything to do with that. Even if you have a problem with them grooming the kids in the classrooms, I damn sure do. But by the way, that's not what this is referring to. Furthermore, it's also not what he said. He's not saying anything about what the LGBT thing is. What he's saying, that's not it either.
It's a divisive ideology that pits people against each other based on the way they look.
We want to point out that
Okay, well, that ain't got a damn thing to do with LGBT either. So the point I'm making to you all is that when they bring up that LGBT red herring, when they mix that in there, just understand that's a red herring. That's misdirection. That's meant to get you to believe that the issue is bigger than black people. No, it isn't. No, it is not. No, it's not. Don't fall for that one. They're showing you who they are after. They're showing you who they are targeting. Keep that. That's why I'm taking you all through this step by step. This is who they're targeting. And this isn't a groomer in the classroom thing. That's not what this is talking about. Neither his black bootlick flunky nor his attorney. They ain't talking about the LGBT folk. When they say woke, they didn't mention what they don't like about the LGBT curriculum. They didn't mention anything about that. It's only about us. Woke means black. That's all it means. It means black and our centuries-long struggle against white supremacy, which is systemic racism, systemic injustice. We are the biggest threat. We are the only threat. We are the ones who created the phrase systemic racism. We are the threat that they are addressing here. This belief that there's systemic white supremacy and that it needs to be addressed. Case closed.
Ryan Newman was asked to define woke, and he responded that woke is the belief there are systemic injustices in American society and the need to address them.
Florida is where woke goes to die. Woke, die.
The task force had its first meeting together on June 7th, and things got heated.
Please be respectful. No matter how
I
long
am respectful, but I want to make sure that we get the respect too. Because we've been dealing with this for years, and I just think it's a bit much for us to do that.
Pardon the interruption. Please allow me, please. So please excuse the interruption. I would like.
Is that dude on the African American History Task Force? The white fella here. I mean, is he just some octoroon Negro? I don't think he is. Is he on the task force too? Or is he just the designated overseer? Who is he? Who is he? What is he doing there? Is he the one to make sure that there's one white person in the room to monitor what we talking about? Is that his job? By the way, she just said this is the task force speaking. I'm like, okay, I'm all right. I'm on board with that. I accept it. By the way, who the hell is this? Who in the hell is he?
Pardon the interruption. Please allow me, please. So please excuse the interruption. I would like to remind you that all task force members, and I've not heard anyone say otherwise, are educated, accomplished professional adults. So let's please maintain a tone of respect and civility as you represent the Commissioner of Education in the public eye.
And the first vote taken was a 6-4 split, precisely divided between new members and old, to postpone the task force's virtual summer institute next week, which hundreds of educators were scheduled to attend.
The motion on the floor is to postpone the scheduled summer institute that is currently scheduled for June 14th and 15th for a...
That's Jacques up here, by the way, looking all slack-jawed and zombie face. He looked like he hitting the pipe right here during the damn meeting, so don't ask him what the hell went on. He can't tell you.
Scheduled to attend.
The motion on the floor is to postpone the scheduled summer institute that is currently scheduled for June 14th and 15th for a short time until after the State Board of Education has adopted the revised African American history, the new African American history standards.
That adoption is expected to happen next month, but no new date has been set for the Summer Institute.
Just hearing that, new standards go into effect come July 1, I think we're sliding the opportunity for all of our educators to have the new standards and use it.
I find it very interesting that the new task force members, and it seems like all of them, have made a decision that they want to pause something that many of them have said that they don't even know anything about.
The Florida Department of Education still hasn't answered a single question that we've sent them on task force membership since March, or responded to any of our public records requests.
You think they'll be happy to see us?
In March, we showed up to Commissioner Diaz's office in Tallahassee.
We're checking to see if Commissioner Manny Diaz is here today.
And we showed up to this African American History Task Force meeting, but the Department of Ed people there wouldn't answer our questions in person either.
We're not taking questions at this time.
Well, when are you taking questions? Because we've been emailing you and calling you with questions for weeks.
The new bylaws to our press office.
I've been trying and they haven't responding to me either.
Now, you know what? I'll give props to Jenna Bourne here. I'll give props to her. She's sitting up here and confronting the white folk. Now, I will give her props for that. If y'all want to know what the hell we talking about, you want to talk about white allies, this is what you're supposed to be doing. Don't shove a microphone in black folks' faces. Go to the white folk who are behind this thing pulling the strings. Put the microphone in their faces and show them. You press them for questions. You follow them around. That's what you're supposed to do. So I will give her props on this. This is what she's supposed to be doing. Right here. This is what you're supposed to be doing. You go up there in person, you get the microphone, you shove it in their face, you follow. You can follow our office. Well, we've been trying to call your office here, ma'am. Can you go ahead and talk to me? That's what you're supposed to do. Right there. Because if we saw this on the evening news every day, then you'd have a whole different political balance in this country if these were the visuals you saw in every city, in every state, on the national news, on cable TV. If you saw this, then we have a whole different political narrative in this country with folks seeing this every day. You know why? Because people recognize dishonesty when they see it. People recognize a liar when they see it. People recognize a lack of integrity when they see it. People recognize injustice when they see it. You see, an honest person talks a certain way, moves a certain way, speaks a certain way, but a liar speaks a certain way too. They speak a certain way also. And it's very easy to spot them, very easy to recognize. So if this was showing up on the evening news all the time, we'd have a whole different paradigm going on.
People there wouldn't answer our questions in person either.
We're not taking questions at this time.
Well, when are you taking questions? Because we've been emailing you and calling you with questions for weeks.
The new bylaws to our press office.
I've been trying and they haven't responding to me either.
If you could provide them to the communications office.
I certainly have been for weeks.
We'll keep reaching out. And Dr. Wright says he plans to keep speaking out.
Well, I prefer to die.
Very glad to hear that. Oh, yeah, by the way, before we get too far.
The task force worked for a school district. Let's start with the lone Democrat of the newbies.
Oh, I ain't forgot about you, Representative Kimberly Daniels. The lone Democrat that Ron DeSantis chose. So you gotta ask yourself a question. How is it that of all these right-wing Republican boot-licking coon-ass Sambo handkerchief head, good golly Miss Molly Negroes they chose, how is it that a Democrat ended up in the middle of this?
Only 2 of the 6 have been a school board member or worked for a school district. Let's start with the lone Democrat of the newbies, State Representative Kimberly Daniels. The Times-Union once described her as perhaps the most conservative Democrat in the legislature. In 2019, she filed a bill that would require all public school districts to offer elective courses on religion, Hebrew scriptures, and the Bible. Daniels also sponsored a bill requiring public schools to display the slogan, "In God We Trust." Now to the 5 Republican appointees. Let's talk.
By the way, now that you hear, you can see something there. She sure does seem to be a religious type, doesn't she? Yeah, she certainly is. As a matter of fact, she's a very religious person. Very religious person. And I just thought I would let you all know that, by the way, She's a very religious person, and you should hear some of her greatest hits from her religious beliefs.
Thank God for slavery. I thank God for slavery. I thank God for the crack house. If it wasn't for the crack house, come on somebody, God wouldn't have never been able to use me how he can use me now. And if it wasn't for slavery, I might be somewhere in Africa worshiping a tree. I thank God for slavery. I thank God for the crack house. If it wasn't for the crack house, come on somebody, God wouldn't have never been able to use me how he can use me now. And if it wasn't for slavery, I might be somewhere in Africa worshiping a tree. I thank God for slavery. I thank God for the crack house. If it wasn't for the crack house, come on somebody, God wouldn't have never been able to use me how he can use me now. And if it wasn't for slavery, I might be somewhere in Africa worshiping a tree.
Brothers and sisters from around the world, this is hardcore Sambo race war. There is simply no other word, no other term for it. This is hardcore, dyed in the wool, Sambo, Uncle Tom race war. That is what this is. You are in the middle of a race war. And they pulled out the stops. Now, just in case you all were wondering, Miss Daniels is self-identified crackhead, self-identified prostitute. So when you go Google about her, don't look up prostitute, look up sex worker. Don't look up prostitute, look up sex worker. If you put in prostitute with her name, you won't get the returns back. But if you put in her name and sex worker, well, then you're going to get a bunch of returns. I'll let you all get on that homework assignment. So when Governor Ron DeSantis, by the way, do y'all notice something about this in the state of Florida? What is it about the state of Florida and black hoes? Jason, did you just say black hoes? I sure did.
And deal with it, nigga.
What is about the state of Florida and black hoes? Well, Jason, what do you mean? I mean, well, you know, Miss Daniels, and we talking about hoes, and Andrew Gillum, who took hoeing to a whole nother level. Andrew Gillum took being a hoe to a whole new level. That's the first grown man I saw get tag team in a handicap match by 3 different dudes. 3 dudes at the same time. They eventually wore him down, or at least that's what the video shows. They eventually wore him down. I'm just telling y'all, this is not accidental. No, I'm not joking, y'all. Put all the bull crap to the side. I'm not joking right now. So in other words, for a black person to really make it in Florida politics, you got to have some hoe in you. And I mean some real, genuine, authentic, let these folks grab your butt cheeks, hoe in you. For real, literally. You literally got to be somebody with a pedigree whose genitalia been in the streets, on the block, in the gutter. That's what you got to be in Florida on the Republican and the Democrat side. You have to be some sexual pervert. You got to be some sexual degenerate. That's what you got to be in the state of Florida today. I'm showing you all, I'm connecting all the dots so y'all can recognize this ain't no joke right now is what I'm telling you. These folk who get appointed, these folks who get chosen by these political parties, people you never heard of, but they've been watching them since high school. I'm just giving you some idea here of exactly who the hell they chose here. Kamala Harris, Andrew Gillum, Kimberly Daniels. Every time you turn around, it ain't going to be too far from that. See, they go grab these real sketchy individuals, these real imbalanced individuals. They real good about that. They real good about that. That's serious business. And then they put them in charge over our issues. See, they're not going off where the Asians are and going to go find the biggest degenerate that they possibly, the biggest Tokyo Rose that they can. They don't come to Asians with no Tokyo Rose. If you don't know your history, look it up. They don't go off and go do that. They don't go off and do that. They don't bring that to the Asian community. They don't bring that to the Latinos, the white ones. They don't bring that to anybody except us. We're the only ones they sit up here and do this kind of stuff that blatant for. We don't have representation. That's why I'm telling you all, we got to have reparations. When you have a system that is this blatantly corrupt, this blatantly evil. What the hell you talking about? We done made it somewhere since 1965. What the hell you talking about? We've made it somewhere since 1868. What the hell you talking about? We made it somewhere since 1864. What? What? You tell me what you are seeing here on your screen politically that you didn't see in 1860. You tell me where the change is and where the difference is. The only thing that's different now is where your position is socially, in the words of Dr. Claude Anderson. I promised you all tonight that I would bring you the 720 degrees of analysis that you would receive absolutely nowhere else, and I've kept that promise. To give you a deep dive into this, not just to give you a cursory look at it, but to take you all the way in so you can see what's going on there and see how deep the corruption goes to be able to make this many moves in this many places, this many times. There's supposed to be lawsuits flying all over the damn place, but there aren't. There's supposed to be lawsuits flying when you tried to put the first one here, but there aren't. Where are your Democrats? Where's your ACLU? Where's your NAACP? Where are they? Where are they? Ask yourselves that. Welcome to the United States of white supremacy. You damn right we're fighting it. You damn right we're unapologetic. You damn right we're calling it out. You damn right we're making trouble. You damn right we're saying reparations. You damn right we're saying cut the check. You damn right we're offending people and making enemies. You damn right we doing it. Because we're the only ones who will. We're the only ones who will. Nobody else is doing it. No one else. If we don't do it, white supremacy wins, period, point blank, in the discussion. That's why they're pressing so hard right now. If they can beat us, they've won the game. As long as we're still standing, they have not won the game. And now they're not even making any pretense about how crooked they are now. They're not even making any pretense about it. They just getting right down to it. Hey, it is what it is. We bum rushing the dough. Yeah, this is what it's going to be. This is what it's going to be. And this is how serious they take their systemic cultural oppression. This is how seriously they take it. And one of the major reasons why they've been able to get so far as they have today is because they've had a lot of help from the buffer classes. They've had a lot of help from their immigrant classes that have come over here with their inert hostility. They've had a lot of help from them, and some of them are going to find out the hard way here. It's not going to work out the way that they tell themselves. Not going to go that way at all. They're finding it out slowly now. And I brought invoices for that. I don't just tell you what you paid, I tell you what you owe. And some other folks out there getting their wake-up call. Big, bad, and dirty ugly. I want you all to stick around for that. We're going to get to that right after we take a very brief commercial, non-commercial break. Before we do, I want to thank everyone, and I do mean everybody who has contributed to support tonight's program. Famously Blacker, thank you very much. I appreciate your support. As always, by the way. Terrell Black, thank you very much for your support. My man Tommy Felix, always on deck. Supporting the B1 Media is absolutely important. Broadcasts like this one, where you get the information analysis. I didn't just play for you a news piece, y'all. I brought you information that the woman in the news clip did not bring you. I showed you stuff she didn't bring you. She talked about Representative Kimberly Daniels. She didn't show Kimberly Daniels saying slavery. I thank God for slavery. So I'm not just here replaying video clips and replaying news pieces that you got from other TV sources. I'm not here just doing that. I'm doing the work of the black media. So I want to thank all of you for your support in this endeavor. Because when people are aware that something is wrong, now psychologically they start doing something about it. We're going to take a very brief commercial, non-commercial break. When we come back, the other side of the story here and more. This is The Black Channel.
Are you ready to take the next step in your career or business? With Higher Life Recruiting and Consulting, you can get the help you need to reach your goals. Our experiences span multiple industries, giving us the ability to source top talent across various fields. We specialize in STEM and high-tech industries, but we are equally adept at recruiting and professional services. Our services include career consulting, resume writing, LinkedIn consulting, interviewing, lead generation, sourcing, and talent mapping. Follow us on Instagram at Get Higher With Us.
Having computer problems? Is your PC or Mac running slow? Need help building a gaming PC? Having problems with your Apple or Android device? Call or text Fix Too Fast. We can fix common and uncommon computer software issues remotely, anywhere, nationwide, from the comfort of your home or business. Are you having hardware issues with your PC or Mac? Ship it to us and we will ship it back fixed. Call 1-877-412-9890 or text 513-440-1646 to speak to a technician. Please visit our website at www.fixtoofast.net.
A white supremacist assassin seeks revenge. Corrupt FBI agents with evil intentions. Dangerous black collaborators dedicated to treason. Occam Jeffers must defeat them all and somehow survive. One misstep and he's a dead man. Join Occam Jeffers as he looks the devil in his blue eyes and tells him, Black First. A sequel to the underground hit War of the Heart, Spirit of 1811 Publishing presents God Love Us, on sale at Amazon. Pre-order and save today. Visit spiritofo1811publishing.com and show your love.
More Threads. A brand owned by a descendant of Black American freedmen was created to uniquely address Black American history and contributions that have been intentionally hidden and suppressed. Use their apparel and more to learn and share the Black American history of Black inventions, heroes, towns, Black business districts, and more. Sign up and support not only a Black-owned business, but a movement at www.morethread.co.
Order yours today to experience all the benefits of Ash Kickin' natural body butter. With skin so smooth and soft, you'll thank us for it. Shop Ash Kickin' online. That's ASHKICKIN.com.
Hi, this is Brenda Starr, creator of Poetry with a Purpose and author of the book Pressed But Not Crushed. Pressed But Not Crushed is an anthology of political poems that address current and historical issues in American descendants of slave population and African American population. The book describes slavery and its residuals, Jim Crow segregation, social depredation, and other relevant issues to American descendants of slaves and African Americans, including the current political climate that does not address our issues.
This is The Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. Glad to be back with you all here this evening. And yeah, man, you know, when white supremacy's on the march, when it's doing its thing here, that's the time for everyone to show where they really stand on this stuff. And it doesn't take very long for some of them to show where they actually are. It doesn't take very long for some of them to show exactly where they are. And I've been watching and tracking this for a minute here. Y'all know what it is. You see, if you listen to Dr. Claude Anderson for the last few decades, you realize that he said that their goal was to change the national conversation, to change it from being black and white to brown and white, and eventually Asian and white. And we have watched as they've been using with ruthless efficiency, using the Asian community as a particular wedge with which to attack black folk. You see most recently the Supreme Court with affirmative action. And now, some of these folks here, like I say, they didn't pay very much attention to it. They told themselves, don't worry, this will ingratiate us with the power structure. Everything will be fine. Everything will be great. But as you know, if you don't check the pedigree, you could be in for a nasty surprise. Now, what I want to show you all here first, I want to show you something here first. We got to go back a couple of years because you know I've been on the case. And we got to go back a couple of years here so you can see this particular story. Now, if you'll remember this is from a couple of years ago. May 28, 2021. Oh, shucky ducky. Back in 2021, a rise in attacks against elderly Asian Americans across the country. But the title of the story is the U.S. losing its Chinatowns? That was CNBC. The title of the news piece, the title of the video is the U.S. losing its Chinatowns? But as you can see, when you get to 7 minutes into the story, you see a section on here talking about rise in attacks against elderly Asian Americans across the country. May of 2021. Now, you all know I monitor these things, and you all know I watch these things, and you all know I'm going to stay on top of it. It's what I do. So, I'll go ahead and do the check-in, because that check-in is a beast. I take a look on here. And what do I see here? I see, 3 weeks ago. Well, here's a story from CBS. Now, last time it was from CNBC. Now we got a story 2 years later. You have a story from CBS. Well, what is this talking about, I wonder? What do y'all have to say here? Why don't we go ahead and check it out?
A struggling Chinatown. New York City's original Chinatown, believe it or not, is at severe risk of disappearing. That's according to a report last year. Tourism is down, rents are up, and there is no line of succession for many businesses. There is one exception, though. It is called Wing on Woe, which means forever peaceful and safe. It is the oldest continuously run shop in their neighborhood. It dates back, folks, to 1890. Wow. And I met the owner who turned down an Ivy League university to keep the shop in her family. And now she's trying to help save her beloved neighborhood for future generations.
Amid the flurry of New York City's Chinatown, there's a place where time seems to turn back. This single-room shop at 26 Mott Street is Wing on Woe & Co., the oldest continuously run business in the neighborhood. The family-run store is known for its porcelain goods, especially tea sets sourced directly from China.
These bulldogs and monkeys were sourced from Hong Kong during my grandmother's time.
Mei Lum is its fifth-generation owner, and while she aims to preserve the legacy her family has built here, she's also breathing new life into it by expanding its inventory.
We wanted to work with different artists to create reinterpretations of old patterns.
And digital presence, including turning its previous owner, her grandma Nancy Side, into a social media sensation.
What's your favorite tea?
Lum took the reins from her grandmother 7 years ago.
What's your first memory of the shop?
I grew up coming here, kind of being dropped off after school and running to the back kitchen and spending time with my grandparents. And then I would run out into the front to run the cash register if there was a customer who came in. My memories are really focused and centered around family.
Even though this is a place of business, this was never a job.
Yeah, it was more of a space to understand my own cultural identity, and it's been a challenge to understand how to breathe new life into this space too and make it my own.
Chinatown had cobblestone streets and horse-drawn carriages.
Gary Lum is May's dad. He brought us a few blocks down to where Wing on Woe first opened in 1890. Through the years, it's evolved alongside the Chinatown community.
It's gone through different iterations over time. It was a Buddhist temple, it was a postal drop-off, it was a social gathering place.
We moved over to this location in 1925, and then that's when we expanded our operation. We had an in-house herbalist, we had a roasting pig pit in the back, and then fast forward to 1964 was when my grandmother took over and was like, oh, I'm not gonna chop meat, I'm done, and decided to focus on porcelain.
Was there resistance to that, or was it seen as the...
So you can see what they're talking about here, and she's running the shop now. That's all cool and everything. That's great. Family-owned business. Pass it down and, you know, preserve your heritage and things. I think that's great. That's fine. But what's happening?
A space for my elders to age in place, that was number one.
They decided not to sell the business, and it stayed in the family under Lum's leadership. Leadership that now focuses on saving America's Chinatowns.
I hear from everybody that they're concerned that the neighborhood is gentrifying very quickly. So I decided, okay, maybe there's something within my own capacity that I could take on.
First year in my artists, we're gonna have one-on-ones the first week of July. So.
Lum founded the WOW Project, a nonprofit using arts and activism to resist gentrification and protect businesses like Wing on Woe.
I think what keeps us here in Chinatown is definitely the fact that there are small family-owned businesses that are here and have been here since the 1920s and Chinatown's early beginnings.
Now, for those of you who don't know, if you've never been to New York or if you never went to Chinatown, you know, you can hit Hudson Parkway and go down and make the left on Canal Street if you dare. It is always super busy. It is always super busy. So if you have the ability to go down there, take a look at it or whatever, you know, it's cool. If you go to New York and visit it, you definitely have an opportunity to see that. You'll definitely have an opportunity to see that. But what you'll also notice is that when you're going down Hudson Parkway, Chinatown is really the last thing you get to before you get to the financial district where the World Trade Tower is. It's the last thing that you get to. For those of you who live in New York, you already know this, but for those of you who do not live in New York, by the way, when you're going down Hudson Parkway, Chinatown is pretty much about to go and be one of the last things you get to right before you get to the financial district. So that thing has been encroaching on them the whole time. I did talk about that when I was putting out my movie Gentrified. Way ahead of my time. Way ahead of my time. Way ahead of the time. And now, I was saying it then. I was saying it then. I was saying, by the way, they sure are close down here. They sure are close down here. And I said, man, it's only going to be a matter of time before they find themselves in a bad situation. And I've been watching that the whole time. You see, while everybody has been working on targeting us, while everyone has been working and focusing on targeting us, I just thought it was very interesting. This is what's going on down there. They're encroaching on their territory now. You see, when we were talking about gentrification, when we were talking about that, these other folks were telling us be quiet. Why? Because they want this. When Columbia University is taking up everything in Harlem, well, you see, if you know, they got a lot of the Asian students are living in housing around Columbia University. If you saw my film Gentrified, you saw some of the buildings that have been converted into student housing. A lot of those are Asian kids. Nothing wrong with that. But by the way, as Columbia gentrifies Harlem, nobody was yelling and screaming about this then. No one was screaming about it then. Now, all these years later, now they want to be concerned. Yeah, because you thought we were going to be the only ones thrown down the lion's throat. When they thought we were the only ones going to get chewed up, it's like, okay, well, you know, them folks, they dirty, they smelly, they bring crime, they this, that, and the other. Now they sitting there and stuff is like, hey, you being targeted, and you're not saying the same things about yourselves. Forget the triads or anything else like that. Forget about that. Forget the syndicates. Forget the mafia. Any of that. We won't get into that. What I'm saying is, by the way, what's your excuse? J Ham, thank you in the chat room, by the way. There's a reason I'm not going to stop my program, but by the way, brother, thank you in the chat room, but it's, I got to teach some folks about their cities. In any case, there's a reason for that. There's a reason for that. Now, that was 3 weeks ago. This 4 days ago. NBC News. I'm going to let y'all walk through this right quick. What you saw here, this was 2 years ago. This was 3 weeks ago. This is 4 days ago. So within the last 3 weeks, we got both CBS and NBC saying, hey, you know, the Asians are jumping up and down right now. Because now this, as you heard here, what they say is that this is happening in Chinatowns across America.
To resist gentrification and protect businesses like Wing On Woe.
I think what keeps us here in Chinatown is definitely the fact that there are small family-owned businesses that are here and have been here since the 1920s and Chinatown's early beginnings.
Can you see yourself here for the next 40 years, or?
I think I'm trying to be present.
They're going to make her an offer she can't refuse.
They decided not to sell the business, and it stayed in the family under Lum's leadership. Leadership that now focuses on saving America's Chinatowns.
I hear from
that focuses on saving America's Chinatowns, plural.
Leadership that now focuses on saving America's Chinatowns.
I hear from everybody that they're concerned that the neighborhood is gentrifying very quickly. So I decided, okay, maybe.
Now that's in New York 3 weeks ago on CBS. So somebody is sounding the alarm, and they got all the news outlets taking note of this now. This was CBS 3 weeks ago. This is NBC 4 days ago.
They're vibrant cultural centers, rich with heritage and history, filled with shops, restaurants, and schools. A home away from home for generations, and a gateway into Asian American culture for visitors. Chinese immigrants arrived in California in the mid-1800s in search of gold. But they were not welcome. In 1882, Congress passed the Chinese Exclusion Act, restricting immigration to the U.S. This exclusion led to the formation of 83 Chinatowns since the mid-1800s.
Take a look at where those dots are on your screen there, by the way. Take a look at where all those dots are. You see where all those dots are, don't you? Not just in New York and not just in California, not just the usual suspects, by the way. You got Louisiana, Georgia, Oklahoma. You see what's going on here? Was that Missouri? You see what's going on here? I just wanted to give you an idea so you can see, by the way, it's a whole lot bigger. Washington, Oregon, whole lot bigger. Just wanted to put that in perspective for you. You know about the majors today, but by the way, you should take a look at that.
Congress passed the Chinese Exclusion Act, restricting immigration to the U.S. This exclusion led to the formation of 83 Chinatowns since the mid-1800s.
Okay, now let's be very, very clear. This led to the formation of 83 Chinatowns since the 1800s. Do you notice that they didn't do it like they did us? Did you notice that? You see, the Black Wall Street... The Black Wall Street. You see, when we set up black towns, they got blown up, they got burned down, they got destroyed. See, we didn't have an opportunity to set up a black town. Every time we did it, something different happened to us. So even though Congress allegedly passed these laws, and remember, the stuff that happened to us was in the 20th century, not the 1800s, the 1900s. We were not allowed to do this. We tried. You see one dot down there in Florida, Rosewood. What happened to Blacktown and Rosewood? Eatonville. You take a look at what happened with us. Yeah, these other folk here, we did the same thing these other folks did, but our results were radically different. Nobody was targeting these people for annihilation, for genocide, for destruction, for murder in the street, for mass lynching. Nobody did that to them. While they're telling you and me what we need to do and what we should be able to make it with. While they're passing down stuff in their families 4, 5, 6 generations. Why didn't you pass yours down? Ours got blowed the hell up. Ours got stolen. They built it. We got taken by the state. Eminent domain. They dropped a freeway on ours everywhere we went. Everywhere across the country, it's the same damn story with us. They didn't do you like that. You talking about getting gentrified. We didn't get gentrified. We got annihilated. Big difference.
According to a preliminary analysis by the National Trust for Historic Preservation, Chinatowns became safe havens for Chinese families. But now, many are struggling. Experts say Chinatowns nationwide are being endangered by gentrification, lack of investment, and development projects. The lack of affordable housing also forcing longtime residents to leave. On top of that, the rise in anti-Asian hate, accelerating the decline of America's Chinatowns.
Up here, that's where you grew up, that apartment?
Yeah, we had to share one bathroom with the entire floor.
Amy Chen Lozano grew up in the Chinatown International District of Seattle. She says crime is a growing concern, and the neighborhood is a low priority for the city.
I couldn't help but notice coming from downtown into Chinatown, there was a marked difference.
Yeah.
Suddenly, the streets are dirtier.
Right.
There is graffiti everywhere.
Right.
Buildings are abandoned. You say that's not by accident.
It absolutely isn't. You can physically see the difference where local government is willing to clean and invest and put their resources into and where they're not.
Oh, is that a fact now, ma'am? That's very interesting, because, you know, we've been saying this for, 160 years, and folks told us you need to clean up your streets. That's what they tell us. Y'all need to clean up your streets. Y'all need to invest. Y'all need to get them niggas from the NBA to come back and invest in where y'all are. That's what you tell us. That's what you've been telling us for a century. Ooh, that graffiti. You need to lock up them kids. We need to put those kids in prison. Yeah, you need to lock up them kids. Hey, black folk, this doesn't happen where the model minorities are. Hey, remember the Ron DeSantis of the world? Well, the model minorities. And we've been saying this the whole damn time. You all have been allowed to do what you've done. You were allowed to do this. And the minute they want to pull the plug on you, the minute they want to flip the switch, they can flip the switch and pull the plug on you at any second they choose. They can pull the plug on y'all up there and knock you out the box any moment they want to. You serve a purpose. And so long as you serve that purpose, you will be allowed to operate and move how you moving. But as soon as you fulfilled your purpose and you're no longer needed, you ain't gonna be able to move the way you've been moving. And it's not gonna take no 50, 60 years to stop you neither. Oh, it's gonna come to a grinding halt. 1 week you gonna be able to move like you've been moving. The next week you stuck in your tracks, complaining about the exact same things that we've been talking about now for decades. What did you sit here and say that the problem was here? Gentrification, check. We've been talking about that forever. Gentrification, check. Lack of investment, double check. Did you ever think you hear that in an Asian neighborhood, the Asian community? And development projects. Now, these two are actually in conflict with each other. It's a true statement that they're making, but those are in conflict because you see, the development projects, those are the investment. Well, I thought you said there's a lack of investment. Oh, they mean that those development projects? Oh, those are the gentrifiers. Those are the non-Asians. And they ain't coming in just buying one little old house and one little old building. They're taking up huge pieces of land. Oh yeah, and they throwing eminent domain at you now. They're throwing eminent domain at you now while y'all are piled up at the Supreme Court targeting black people. While they piled up and lined up at the Supreme Court to target us. Don't worry, we're going to be all right. Don't worry, we're going to move them out the neighborhood. Don't worry, we with you, boss. We with you. Don't worry, we're going to take care of them. Bosses over there like, yeah, and after we take care of them niggas, we're going to take care of you. We already know what we're going to do about you. Oh, we don't even have to start a game plan. We already know what we're going to do about you. So hurry up and let's clear these niggas out, and then we can go ahead and get you up out of here too. Boy, that could never happen to us in Seattle. That could never happen to us in Seattle. Why, there's too many of us. Why, Jason Black, you've been to Seattle. You went to Seattle International Airport. Don't you see how many of us there are? I'm like, yeah, for now. You see, an airport is simply a transportation hub. It transports people from one place to another, but you can't live at the airport. So the airport simply facilitates travel. Once you get to the airport, where you gonna go? Cause you gotta have somewhere to go. And if they've removed the places for you to go, guess what? You ain't gonna be at the airport anymore. They gonna make believers out of you. They can flip this switch and turn it off at any moment. Anytime they choose. They can shut it down. Anytime. 2 years ago, 3 weeks ago, 4 days ago.
Had to share one bathroom with the entire floor.
Amy Chen Lozano grew up in the Chinatown International District of Seattle. She says crime is a growing concern and the neighborhood is a low priority for the city.
I couldn't help but notice coming from downtown into Chinatown, there was a marked difference.
Yeah.
Suddenly, the streets are dirtier.
Right.
There is graffiti everywhere.
Right.
Buildings are abandoned. You say that's not by accident.
It absolutely isn't. You can physically see the difference where local...
Hey, where's your name, you bastard? Hey, Jason Aldean. Is that because of woke folks? Is that because of the Negro presence? Is that because of the Negroes running around Seattle? Is that why the place is in the state of disrepair that it's in? Is it because of us? You jackass?
Is a low priority for the city.
I couldn't help but notice coming from downtown into Chinatown, there was a marked difference.
Yeah.
Suddenly, the streets are dirtier.
Right.
There is graffiti everywhere.
Right.
Buildings are abandoned. You say that's not by accident.
It absolutely isn't. You can physically see the difference where local government is willing to clean and invest and put their resources into, and where they're not. And where they're not is here. Chinatown is everybody's dumping ground.
Chinatown is everybody's dumping ground. Is it? What? Hold on. In Seattle? Y'all in Seattle talking like this. Because you see, black folk been saying this in Detroit when you gutted the manufacturing sector. Black people been saying that in Chicago when you gutted the transportation hub. Black people been saying that all across this damn country. We've been saying that. Hey, our neighborhoods are the dumping ground for these folk. They told us, oh, it's your culture. It's just your culture there. You people just don't value anything. Now they're turning around and saying, they're starting to scream, oh, this is engineered. The government can actually engineer these results. Now they're suffering benign neglect. Now they're suffering neglect. All of a sudden they sound like us. With all the things they told us were excuses. Pull your ass up by your bootstraps. All the things they told us. Stop having all them bastard kids in Chinatown. Oh, never mind. They ain't helping you. Yeah, all the things you told us about. All those things you've been saying to us, that we're the model minority and y'all always making excuses. All those things. It's like, hey, y'all should be popping and locking right now. It should be rolling good. And yet they're letting you know, by the way, oh, we can hit you right in the heart of where you are. After all this stuff they said to us for all these decades.
You say that's not by accident.
It absolutely isn't. You can physically see the difference where local government is willing to clean and invest and put their resources into, and where they're not. And where they're not is here. Chinatown is everybody's dumping ground.
Lozano points to projects built or proposed in or near Chinatowns nationwide, including jails, arenas, and homeless shelters.
Excuse me? Jails, arenas, and homeless shelters. I'll be damned. They've been doing that to us for decades. You got a black neighborhood, they then park the jail right next to your damn house. You watching niggas jump out the window and run. They've been parking jails next to our houses now for decades. Arenas? What you talking about? If they're building an arena in America, if they're building a large works project in America, it's like, yeah, where the black folks at? Yeah, drop that damn thing right there. Drop it right there. There you go. San Francisco, the new 49ers stadium. It's not in San Francisco. Y'all get the point out there. New Orleans. Atlanta, wherever you go, when they got some large project, it's like, all right, where the niggas at? Drop it right there. Drop it right there. Put it right there. We've been dealing with this for decades. With them telling us, pull yourself up. Every time something like that happens, when the government conspires against you, when the government conspires against you, we gonna put the jail where you are. We gonna put the liquor store, we're gonna turn down the liquor store permits on the white side of town. Right here in Shreveport, we dealt with that for years. Right there at the corner of Hollywood and St. Vincent. Put a big ass pawn shop. Folks went to the city council, the neighborhood went to the city council and said, we don't want that here. Here's the problem. It was some white folk who wanted to build that big ass thing. So they put it in the middle of the black folks' neighborhood. When they started doing the liquor stores, the white folks shut down the liquor licenses on their side of town. Oh, you can't get a liquor license on the white side of town. In Shreveport, the city council and the cattle commission wouldn't allow that. Where the black folk are, oh, set up shop. Immigrants coming fresh off the plane. Yeah, shut it up. Don't worry. Set it up wherever you at. The white folk got together. You can't get a liquor permit on their side of town. You can get the liquor permits on the black side, not the white side. You can build the pawn shops on the black side, not the white side. You can build your stadiums and stuff on the black side, not the white side. You ain't gonna gentrify us and eminent domain us. And we've been saying, and by the way, Shreveport is just a template. Y'all seen that every damn where. Little Rock, Atlanta, St. Louis, Decatur, DeSoto, Texas. Y'all know what it is. Plano, Texas ain't got let me tell y'all, Plano, Texas ain't got a bunch of barbecue places. I mean, there's only one, the Crazy Eights. I've been there. Ain't bad. But that ain't no barbecue shack. They had Maseratis and what was that? G-Wagons in the damn parking lot. Plano, stand up. Plano, stand up. That wasn't no barbecue shack. A big place, by the way. Big place. Go on down the road to DeSoto. You got barbecue shacks down there where the black folk at. The barbecue shacks is down there. The liquor stores is down there. The corner stores are down there. The seedy looking car washes are down there. Not in Plano, not in Addison, not in Richardson. These things are engineered. There's a reason why they have a permitting process so they can pick and choose what neighborhoods they're going to destroy. The reason they have permitting processes is so that they can pick and choose what they're going to destroy. In the chat room, you're right, the hard 8. Did I say crazy 8? I'm talking about Kill Bill. If I said crazy 8, I meant the hard 8. Thank you very much. Jason Ben Summer everywhere is running together places and movies. Not bad, by the way. If you get a chance to go by there, knock yourself out. But folks, the permitting process, getting permits and regulations, that's so they can pick and choose who they're going to destroy. So they can pick and choose who they're going to destroy. So they can pick and choose who they're going to destroy. Your situation is not natural selection. Your situation is engineered. Now these other folks are getting a taste of it. And in the words of Richard Pryor, maybe the next time you hear black folk yelling about something, you'll get up and help. As opposed to sitting there telling us what we need to do. Maybe next time you see us in trouble, maybe you'll get off your ass and help and do something about it. Or you'll just sit there and tell yourself, oh, don't worry, they're going to eat the niggas. We'll be okay. They're going to eat you, but we'll be all right. Okay.
Lozano points to projects built or proposed in or near Chinatowns nationwide, including jails, arenas, and homeless shelters that are forcing these enclaves to shrink or move. In Philadelphia, coalitions of Chinatown organizations and allies are protesting a proposed 76ers arena down the street from the famous Friendship Arch.
That's right. Y'all saw that accurately there. You saw it accurately.
To shrink or move. In Philadelphia.
This is in Philadelphia. Black folk in Philadelphia have no problem being very much seen and very much vocal. For other folks, they're not sitting there telling the Asians, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. They're not sitting there telling the Asians, well, that's capitalism in progress. They're not sitting there telling the Asians the stuff that we hear. They're not sitting up here telling the Asians, well, pull your pants up. Did you get that? I want y'all to understand, our response to these other people ain't the same as their responses to us. Our responses to them are not the same as their responses to us. Ain't no black folks sitting up there telling them, pull your pants up, clean up your block. Well, pay your taxes. You need to invest, get your credit score together. You notice we ain't saying that. That's not the response you get from us. The response you get from us is radically different. You see, we're always standing on the side of justice. That's why our tune has begun to change, because people have been weaponizing our honorability against us. They've been weaponizing our code of human conduct against us. And that's why the tune has begun to change until we start seeing some reciprocity around here.
Philadelphia, coalitions of Chinatown organizations and allies are protesting a proposed 76ers arena down the street from the famous Friendship Arch.
Now, by the way, one more thing. I didn't even keep up with this. This is the first I'm hearing about this. I can't monitor every city around the world. I just can't do it. I try to do my best. Now, for those of you who in Philadelphia, if you've never been to Philadelphia, you go up Interstate 95. They got a sports complex out there. So that's where they got the Lincoln Field, where the Philadelphia Eagles play, the NFL team. And they got, I think, the hockey arena's out there. I think the baseball arena is out there. So the Philadelphia Phillies play out there. And then they got an arena where the 76ers play. But I think the 76ers share that arena with the Flyers. If I'm wrong about that, correct me. I'm not a big person on sports, but I want to say that I saw both of the logos on the same building. I want to say I saw both the logos on the same building. So Phillies, stand up. In that building, do the Pistons, that's the Pistons, damn it. The 76ers, do the 76ers and the Flyers both play in the same building? Philadelphia, stand up. Do they both play in the same building? Because if they do, then that explains what it is. Okay, so it's been a minute since I've been to Philadelphia. It's been a minute. They've blown up the freeway and everything through there, by the way. They've blown up whole freeways now. Watch out. But, okay, so they share the same building. So rather than give the 76ers another stadium out there where they got this huge sprawling sports complex for the purposes of making sure that this does not happen. People, if you'll remember the whole idea, the whole rationale behind the sports complex, and other cities have replicated this, by the way, but the whole idea behind that sports complex was specifically this, so that there would be no more controversies about grabbing people's land to build a damn stadium owned by private owners. That was the whole idea of getting that big-ass sprawling sports complex. So exactly what you see on your screen right here wasn't supposed to happen anymore. Well, that was before you got in the damn crosshairs. And before they decided, you know what, Chinatown would be better put somewhere else. Now they're saying, you know what, we got a big public works project. Public works, a sports stadium ain't public works. That's a private enterprise. It's going to be public all over your ass in just a minute.
Protesting a proposed 76ers arena.
I mean, do y'all see the size of that thing? Do you see the size of that? It literally takes up an entire city block. That thing literally takes up an entire city block. Here's the thing about it. Ain't nothing else sports related there. This thing sticks out like a roach on an ice cream cone. What other sports related activities do you have going on down there in that area? You just kind of stuck there. Everybody associates the sports complex with the sports venues. Why are you sticking this stadium right there in the middle of things? What in the world? What in the world? Where's the other sports related activities that would justify this thing? Why did you choose here for such a huge thing? What are you doing? Yeah, what about parking, man? Man, look here. Take your bicycle. So yeah, when you start seeing your local government doing real oddball stuff in your neighborhood, and just to make sure you don't have the ability to override it, it's like, oh, don't worry, the city council will vote on this. This ain't up for a local vote. This ain't up for a local vote. Yeah, that's a wrap for you. Yeah, the stuff they've been doing to us for decades now. The stuff they've been doing to us. Next thing you know, they'll be calling the Asian. If the Asians get too loud about it and get too vocal, they'll be calling you woke next.
Arena, down the street from the famous Friendship Arch.
And it's not just Chinatown residents participating in this march. There are many from the Black and Hispanic communities here to show solidarity.
Longtime activist Deborah Wei has seen this fight before. She grew up coming to Chinatown with her family. She protested against a proposed baseball stadium in 2000 and a casino in 2008 on the edge of Chinatown.
This is a community that's not just special to Chinese. It's special to Asian Americans, and it's special to other immigrants as well. Chinatown is almost like the spiritual and cultural heart of the Asian.
Now, every Chinatown you see in America, you always see plenty of black folk patronizing them. She's talking about it's important to other immigrants. Keep that in mind when people don't appreciate what you've done for them.
Special to Asian Americans, and it's special to other immigrants as well. Chinatown is almost like the spiritual and cultural heart of the Asian American community in this region.
Wei has banded together with mom and pop businesses and other community leaders in Chinatown to protest the arena. In a statement, the 76ers tell NBC News, our team includes leaders in equity businesses and other community leaders in Chinatown to protest the arena. In a statement, the 76ers...
All right, 76 Dev Corp. So the 76ers have their own development corporation. Listen to what this letter says. 76 Dev Corp understands the challenges facing marginalized communities in our city. So the model minority is now a marginalized community. Well, no, don't complain. Look, you can't. Don't let anybody tell you that you're being targeted. Don't let if anybody tells you you're being targeted, you've got plenty of opportunities. Yeah, you got the opportunity to move your ass now. You got the opportunity to call a rider truck and move your ass. That's what you got the opportunity to do now. There's nothing systemic about it. There's nothing systemic. Yeah, if the city council gangs up on you, if the 76ers, a white corporation, and the white city council, and the white government get together and gang up on you, I mean, that's not systemic. That isn't systemic. You just hate America. We're not going to indoctrinate that. We're not going to have that indoctrination. You've got the same opportunities as everybody else. You got the same opportunity as everyone else. Here comes a multi-billion-dollar juggernaut rolling straight down the street at you. You know why they don't want the 76ers to come there? Because the 76ers are an institution. It's guaranteed that that's going to be financially viable. And the 76ers will bring others. The 76ers will bring others. Jason, what are the others? Let me tell y'all something. Ain't nothing. You think about every sports complex in America, every sports stadium in America. What is right next to every sports stadium in America? You got chain restaurants that are not Asian owned. Bars that are not Asian owned. Technology companies nearby that will not be Asian owned. Hotels that are not gonna be Asian owned. Yeah, they understand that, as I said in my first film, 7 a.m., this is setting off an economic nuclear bomb that's gonna have a blast yield that goes out for several blocks, and Chinatown is at ground zero. Chinatown in Philadelphia, right there next to the Parkade. I don't know if this new 76ers building is going to be close enough to the Parkade for you to park your car there. They might need to build a bigger one. But they're about to set off one of those economic bombs that I told you all about. Something that is large and expensive, and it will be economically viable for decades and decades to come. And it's going to do the worst thing of all. It's going to raise property values for everything around it. All the big corporations love that. But it's also going to invite new investment, new development that these folks were complaining about. It's going to invite some of that new development that they were upset about. When I said development projects, now y'all know what I mean. They're like, hey, y'all are not investing. Okay, we'll build a stadium near you. Whoa, whoa, whoa. That wasn't the kind of investment we need. Well, this is the kind of investment you're going to get. This is what you're going to get. We're going to invest in you, all right?
In a statement, the
76 DevCorp understands the challenges facing marginalized communities in our city. You about to go from the margins to being all the way out. Our team includes leaders in equitable development to ensure the project benefits all communities and does not repeat the mistakes of past development proposals. Y'all, don't you know they bought off Asians in these Chinatowns? They did the same. They're doing the same thing with them that they've done to black folk and that they're still doing to black folk now. They perfected this, just like Nazi Germany watched America perfect white supremacy and then copied it. These other folk watched them target black people, and now they're using the lessons and the techniques that you got against black folk, and now they're targeting these other people. They're targeting them now. So what they do is they go get some Asians from the local community. They go get some Asians from the Asian banks. They throw them a few dollars, and next thing you know, they're helping to facilitate getting these things built. You got the Asians in an uproar because some of their own people are helping these things to get through. You know, the same techniques and strategies that they employed against us. The exact same ones. They say here that we have committed $50 million in direct community benefit. What the hell is benefit, sir? The largest legally binding community benefits agreement in the history of our city, and one of the largest in the country, to preserve and strengthen all communities around Market East, including Chinatown. Folks, do you understand what that sentence right there means? Do you understand what that sentence said? That we're investing $50 million to preserve and strengthen all communities around Market East. You do understand that means the white ones too, right? Those gentrifiers you were so worried about, you do understand that that includes them too, right? Including fellow white corporations. You do understand that they're saying we got to help all the communities. We can't just help the Asian now. Hey, wait a minute now. We can't just do something for the Asians now. Got to do something for everybody. A rising tide lifts all boats. Now they're finding out a rising tide will drown you too. Yeah, let's hear it for that rising tide lifting all boats. You know another word for a rising tide? A flood. And ensure communities across Philadelphia have access to the economic opportunities created through this project. Wow. We're going to throw y'all $50 million, and we want to make sure that we help everybody, including the folks who are going to come to the arena. The 76ers want to be a part of the solution in bringing much-needed revitalization to our downtown, while also enhancing the neighborhoods that make the city special. Well, guess what? You are part of the 76ers enhancement project, Chinatown. Congratulations.
Sixers tell NBC News, our team includes leaders in equitable development to ensure the project benefits all communities and does not repeat the mistakes of past development proposals, adding it has committed $50 million to preserve and strengthen all communities around Market East, including Chinatown. Comcast Spectacor, which is part of NBC Universal's parent company, has offered the 76ers part ownership in the Wells Fargo Center, their current home.
That's where the start of the arena is going to be.
Michael Ha owns QT Vietnamese Sandwich. His restaurant is 1 block from the proposed arena.
If congestion starts building up, they will stop coming to Chinatown because they won't be able to find parking.
Ha believes the businesses here won't survive the projected 5 years of demolition and construction.
I truly believe Chinatown will disappear. I don't think that there's a doubt in my mind that Chinatown will disappear.
In Seattle, a proposed light rail expansion threatens more disruption.
Well, I'll be damned, because you see, in Denver, Colorado, when they were building their light rail, black folk were warning about that under Mayor Wellington Webb, your first black mayor of Denver, who, by the way, he disappeared since then. Black folk were talking about that then. Out there in Los Angeles right now, black folk are talking about the train going up through Crenshaw. We've been talking about how those things are weapons that have been used to gentrify and displace us now for decades. These are not just development projects. These are things that destabilize our communities while everybody else is sitting there. That's good, build it. You're in the way of progress. You people are in the way of progress. You can't do anything with your neighborhood. You're in the way of progress. Well, guess what? Y'all in the way of progress now. Now, you thought you was going to be on the train. You found out you're going to be under that son of a gun. This is what happens when you spend decades helping racism. Next thing you know, man, you sitting in the crosshairs. Now you've normalized this practice. All these things that we were talking about before, the trains, planes, and automobiles, sports stadiums, infrastructure projects, eminent domain. Now you're sitting here scared to death. It's like, yeah, they turned it on you now. Ain't nobody gonna build nothing near Chinatown. We got this on lock, man. These white folk taking the whole damn block right now. Right now.
Out of my mind that Chinatown will disappear.
In Seattle, a proposed light rail expansion threatens more disruption. The decision won't be finalized until later this year, but it wouldn't be the first time this Chinatown has been significantly reshaped by an infrastructure project.
When this freeway, I-5, was built in the 1960s, it tore right through Chinatown, leaving a lasting impact on the community.
It tore through Chinatown. They still had a Chinatown. When they drop freeways on the black neighborhoods, the neighborhood is gone. The neighborhood just vanishes. That's the difference for us.
This is the freeway, and you can place it over the map and line up these arrows, and then you can see, like, that's what got torn down.
Wow. Michaela Woodward is a curator at the Wing Luke Museum. On display now, an exhibit by historian Tessa Holes called Nobody Lives Here. It documents the impact infrastructure projects like Interstate 5 have had on ethnic communities in Seattle.
That we keep putting infrastructure projects here in the neighborhood because we think nobody lives here, because the people who do live here don't speak English, are not able to access the levers of power to get their voices into the conversation.
No. Nobody lives here means it's just the niggas. Nobody lives here means that they are not actual citizens. That's what nobody lives here means when they say that. They mean no one of any consequence, which we've been talking about now for decades. And everybody saw what happened to us. Everybody saw what they did to us. And then they sat back and told us, oh, well, you're not working hard enough. You're not trying hard enough. You need to pick yourself up and dust yourself off and pick yourself up by your bootstraps. That's what they told us. That's what they continue telling us.
So really, it's a contradiction. Nobody lives here is meant to highlight people do live here. They have lives here.
The fact is, if you put 14 lanes of concrete over 3 blocks of a neighborhood, it's loud, it's dark, it's polluted.
Chinatown residents tend to skew older, and language and cultural barriers can be difficult to overcome. But there are some in this community determined to give this often overlooked group a seat at the decision.
Now, did you hear this very insidious statement that she made that tells you how deviously diabolical these people are? Did you hear what she said?
It's dark, it's polluted.
Chinatown residents tend to skew older.
Chinatown residents tend to skew older. Is that a fact now? So in other words, if we couldn't steamroll your grandparents or your parents, don't worry, we'll be back. We'll come back and we will get you out of here when it's the grandchildren. Because you see, we are corporations. We are corporations. We are eternal. So if we couldn't get your father to sell out, well, don't worry. We'll come back and come target the grandchildren. I'm going to stand up against you. You'll be dead and gone when we come back. Or you'll be so old and decrepit, you won't be able to fight us when you're 90. So we're going to wait until y'all have gotten old, your kids ain't here, the grandkids have moved out, we built a tech hub in Seattle and down there in San Francisco. Your kids ain't trying to run the damn the local restaurant. They're coming to work for us at these corporations that they can work at but cannot own. They gonna leave your neighborhood, they're gonna leave your block, and they're gonna come work for us.
It's dark, it's polluted.
China.
You won't have any children to help you stop us. We're just gonna wait a couple decades. We'll come back for you. The kids will be gone, and your grandkids will be gone with them, and then it'll just be you and us, only you'll be real old by then. And there will be some young executive at our company looking to make a name for himself, looking to be the next corporate raider, looking to be the next Jamie Dimon, looking to be the next titan of industry. And he's going to be ruthless. He will not have any connection to this. He's going to be looking for neighborhoods to devastate just so he can show how efficient he is. Well, he'll make his bones demolishing Chinatown. You know, what we've been doing to the black folk all these decades, while you've been telling them, repeating to them what we said to tell them. Oh yeah, just work a little harder here. Stop complaining. Stop whining. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. You ain't being targeted. Ain't no systemic racism. Y'all niggas just lazy.
It's loud, it's dark, it's polluted.
Chinatown residents tend to skew older, and language and cultural barriers can be difficult to overcome. But there are some in this community determined to give this often overlooked group a seat at the decision-making table.
I don't know if I told you this.
You better ask black folk how that, quote, seat at the table works out. You better ask us how that seat at the table works. We got a few things to get you hip to in the game about how that seat at the table gonna work out for you.
Betty Lau and Brian Chow are two longtime Seattle Chinatown International District residents hoping to do just that.
I call upon you to do the right thing.
They're part of a small but growing group of activists demanding a greater voice.
Now, do you see this?
Do the right thing.
They're part of a small but growing group.
Ma'am, do you see a single Asian face that you up here talking to? You're the only Asians in the room. Unless this little fella right here is one. If he is, you got one. Do you see how many Asians do you count in this room? While you talking about your seat at the table. You got a seat, all right, one. Unfortunately, they got you outnumbered. How many Asians are you talking to up here? Ma'am, did you check the temperature and read the room?
On you to do the right thing.
They're part of a small but growing group of activists demanding a greater voice on decisions that directly affect their community. Each month, Brian, Betty, and other seniors attend a public hearing for the proposed light rail expansion to ensure that their interests and the interests of their neighbors are heard.
Why is it so important to you to go to these meetings and be involved in the decisions that are made about this community?
For me, it's important to participate. Some of us who have had to learn the hard way, if we don't speak up, we get eaten up alive. That's just the way of the world.
I'm here to protect the people of Chinatown, the residents, and the businesses.
What do they need protecting from?
Well, they need protecting from the people that don't help them or basically try to harm them or ignore them.
Oh gosh, I've been a professor.
Don't help them, try to harm them, ignore them. Yeah, you know what we've been saying for a century and a half.
Vivian Louie is the director of the Asian American Studies program at Hunter College in New York.
Why are these Asian cultural centers so important to our...
Hunter College in New York. Okay, I heard that.
Louis is the director of the Asian American Studies program at Hunter College in New York.
Why are these Asian cultural centers so important to our communities?
I think they're important to our communities because they constitute a linkage, a lifeline to our heritage, and also to that heritage as it's evolved. There are people who really have a powerful connection to the Chinatowns, and they want them to flourish, and they want them to continue to survive.
There's some other folks who got different ideas about Chinatown after a century.
Perhaps one of the most famous Chinatowns, New York City.
Hey, remember, weren't we just in New York talking to somebody at their place, their spot in Chinatown? Yeah, we were just in New York on CBS Mornings here 3 weeks ago. Now NBC is back in. Well, I wonder what they have to say about New York. Big focus on Chinatowns now. All of a sudden, are things going well?
We want them to continue to survive.
Perhaps one of the most famous Chinatowns, New York City. New York City's Chinatown has seen disaster after disaster. 9/11, SARS, Superstorm Sandy, and most recently, the pandemic.
Why have some Chinatowns been struggling and seeing erosion, both after the pandemic and before?
I think that they've been seeing erosion because of the sense of invisibility, which is definitely there. So there is this sense of we, again, need to be heard. We need to be pushing out there. And this was occurring before the pandemic.
Today, 16% of the storefronts in New York City's Chinatown still remain vacant.
Now, why would they? I want to remind you all about something here. The Chinatown Business Improvement District. There's a reason why people want to keep track of numbers. I've taught you all this now for over a decade. The census, you can rely on those numbers. You know why? Because you don't know if your plan is succeeding unless you accurately measure it. You don't know if the plan is succeeding unless you accurately measure it. Now, that number that you see on your screen right now, 16%, says 16% of storefronts remain vacant. Now, you all also remember we tell you about societal trends. How much of a society do you have to change before the rest becomes inevitable? How many people what percentage of people in the society have to adopt a certain sentiment or ideology before it eventually becomes the majority? Well, 10%. Once you've got 10% of people who adopt an ideology or an idea, well, it pretty much is going to be inevitable that it becomes the majority. 16% of the folk there did not think that Chinatown was worth coming back to. 16% have decided that Chinatown is not worth coming back to. Let that sink in for a moment.
Storefronts in New York City's Chinatown still remain vacant. For business owners, increasing rent and labor supply costs have thinned their profit margins considerably. Aging business owners without succession plans and a decline in customers add to the challenges of keeping these Chinatowns alive.
Aging business owners without a succession plan.
Considerably. Aging business owners without succession plans.
Aging business owners without succession plans are now up against mega corporations who their succession plans are built into their bylaws. This is what we've been up against now. This is what we've been fighting, with folks telling us that we're just lazy and not working hard enough. How's it working out now?
And a decline in customers add to the challenges of keeping these Chinatowns alive.
A recent study looking at the impact of COVID-19 on businesses here found Chinatown lost a quarter of its jobs between 2019 and 2021, a far higher percentage than New York City as a whole. Nearly 60% of those jobs were in food service.
Peter Lee took over his family business, Hop Key Restaurant, which first opened in 1968. Despite receiving pandemic relief, his family business, Hop Key Restaurant, which first opened in 1968. Which first opened in 1968. Which first opened in 1968.
What happened? What happened around that time, I wonder? I wonder if there was anything else that was happening around that time, you know, that made it possible for that restaurant to open in the first place. I'm wondering if there was something else that was happening. If there was somebody else out there who was making this possible, because we know it wasn't them. I wonder if there was someone else. I don't know. Maybe it'll come to me. Maybe it'll come to me later. I can't remember it right now, but maybe it'll come to me later.
Peter Lee took over his family business, Hop Key Restaurant, which first opened in 1968. Despite receiving pandemic relief funds, Lee says business still has not returned to pre-pandemic levels.
So you've had to cut staffing by half?
Yes.
And also you've reduced your operating hours?
Yes.
He says his biggest challenge is the uncertainty of tomorrow.
Let's just all support our local stores and places and support your neighborhood.
When you talk about this, it's emotional for you. Why is that?
It's just...
Now, you know, I find that very interesting, sir. I find this very interesting. Listen to this again.
Of tomorrow.
Let's just all support our local stores and places and support your neighborhood.
Let's all support our local stores and support your neighborhoods. And you know what, sir? I think that that is a wonderful sentiment. I really, really do. Which is why we've been waiting for you all to reciprocate that with us now for decades, sir. Folks, I'm going on half a century old now. I have seen black businesses across this country of every color and stripe. I've seen black businesses of every type, of every service, of every industry. I literally cannot remember the last time I saw an Asian in a black restaurant, at a black car wash, a black tire shop. I literally cannot remember the last time I saw it. Black folks support their hair supply stores. If black businesses relied on Asians, we'd never get anywhere. We would go out of business before the first 30 days was over. So I think what he's saying is a wonderful sentiment. The rest of us would like to see everyone do the same thing. Because the problem is now he's sitting here boohooing and singing the blues. But this is what y'all been living like with us the whole time. Now, all of a sudden, we are the world. Now we are the world. I'm like, hey, wait a minute. Y'all have made it a cultural norm not to support anybody else. That we don't do that. That's been a point of honor and a point of pride that you don't support anybody else. Certainly not the black folk who keep showing up there. You don't support anybody else. Your businesses will be in black neighborhoods, and you make it a point that you will drive across all the way on the other side of Houston to go do business with another Asian. There can be a black business next door that does whatever you need. Dry cleaning or whatever. They will drive across the city to do business with another Asian. So, sir, respectfully, miss me. Miss me all the way. Swerve.
When you talk about this, it's emotional for you. Why is that?
It's just kind of upsetting to see changes in a neighborhood because as a kid, it was thriving.
Now residents fear long-term construction on a new jail in New York's Chinatown will impact traffic, increase pollution, and threaten their very livelihoods. But some business owners are doubling down.
Me and my other partners, my friends since we were 14 years old, we've always kind of had that hustle mentality. We never really went that corporate route.
Corey Ng was born and raised here. He remembers the bustling neighborhood he grew up in. When his family closed his grandfather's Asian produce shop, Ng and his childhood friends transformed the space into Potluck Club, a modern Cantonese American restaurant.
Did your parents want you to be in the restaurant business?
Into Potluck Club, a modern Cantonese American restaurant.
This spot might have some potential. I'm call me cynical. I got a suspicion that they might be getting a little bit of help with their food to make it taste a little bit better. Y'all, maybe I'm just suspicious. Conspiracy theory. Jason is just sitting up here going in the wild blue yonder. Just wild speculation. But I got a sneaking suspicion that the food here might be all right. I got a suspicion here that the food here might be a cut above. I could be wrong.
A modern Cantonese.
Yeah, I might be wrong, but I got a sneaking suspicion that the food here might be a cut above the others. I don't know what the secret ingredient is, though. I'm not sure what the ingredient could be. Once again, I'm drawing blanks, y'all. Chinatown got me drawing blanks today. 1968, and I can't put my finger on what was happening at the time. Between 1965 and 1969, I can't figure out what was happening at the time. And here at the restaurant, whatnot, things is popping, the joint is jumping. I think there's something to it. I just can't figure out what it is. I can't figure out what it is. Can't put my finger on it. Maybe y'all can help me in the chat room, in the comment section after the program. Can't quite put my finger on it.
American restaurant.
Did your parents want you to be in the restaurant business?
Of course they didn't. No way. Most Asian American parents with kids that grew up in the 80s and the 90s, it was instilled in them that my kid's going to go to college and become an accountant, work in finance, doctor, lawyer, whatever.
Ng and his co-founders say they want this generation of Asian Americans to invest in the longevity of Chinatown and help it evolve.
Our generation has to come back to the community and build new businesses and bring new energy, but do something new.
I think that's a wonderful thing he's saying, y'all. I'm all for it.
To invest in the longevity of Chinatown and help it evolve.
Our generation has to come back to the community and build new businesses and bring new energy, but
our community needs to come back and build new businesses and build new energy. I don't know. I'm looking in the kitchen here and I'm thinking to myself, I don't know. They might have potential. We'll see. It looks like he might be doing things a little bit different. He might be doing things a little bit different than some of the other folk. We will see. We will see.
To the community and build new businesses and bring new energy, but do something new that's going to last for the next 50 years, the next 75 years.
What is your message to people who appreciate the Chinatowns in their cities, but maybe haven't visited them, haven't supported them, haven't gone there in a while? I think sometimes people take these cultural centers for granted.
Yeah, 100%. If you grew up out here and you do feel that you want to reconnect, please come back and partake in all the different businesses, all the different cultural events that we do have.
It took like a full, it was like...
Back in Seattle, it's a message echoed by Amy Chen Lozano. Her children, now part of the Chinatown Drill Team and Dragon Boys.
What is your message to folks who care about these cultural enclaves, who care about Chinatown?
I think the problem is that people tend to come out and protest when it's too late. We need to do, and what we should be doing, is fighting for everyday investments, resources, benefits from the local government to keep them from passing us by.
Let me play that one more time. Let me play that what she just said here one more again.
Come out and protest when it's too late. We need to do, and what we should be doing, is fighting for everyday investments, resources, benefits from the local government to keep them from passing.
We need to be fighting for everyday investments, resources, and benefits from the local government. Well, I'll be damned. This is what we've been saying now. And they tell us, well, you just lazy. You want a handout. We don't need to do that. Look at our model minorities. They don't need any of that. Our model minorities don't require any of that. And these will be the very same folk telling you and me what we shouldn't be getting. But when they in trouble, it's, all of a sudden they can clearly see what the problem is. When we say that that's what the problem is, they tell us we lazy. They tell us we shiftless. They tell us we don't work hard enough. They tell us that we worried about all that old stuff from slavery. But at the second that they have a slowdown, all of a sudden it's exactly what we've been saying the whole time it is. And this is the situation that you'll find yourself in when you've been helping racism all this time. There is a cost to doing that. There is a cost to taking the Faustian bargain and shaking the demonic hand and saying we're making the devil's bargain with you. There's a cost to doing that. I do not wish any ill whatsoever on Chinatown, to any of the Chinatowns in America. I wish absolutely no ill to them whatsoever. The problem has been that a lot of the problems that we've been having have been precipitated by those very same elements, openly in court, openly in the government, openly in the media. So right now, where I stand, I gotta fall back. I gotta fall back until you all stop helping the very people who've been targeting us, who are softening, getting their skills together, cutting their teeth on us so they could come for you. Because as long as you thought they weren't going to come for you, this stuff was okay. As long as you thought that we were going to be the only ones they chewed on, it was okay for them to do this. Now that they sitting here making crunch and munch out of you, now all of a sudden, hey, we need investment, resource, and benefits. Whoa, hold on a second. Get in the back of the line. We already gave you yours. Black folk already got to work for you. We already made sure you were good. First of all, if it weren't for us, there wouldn't be a 13th, 14th, 15th Amendment that allowed you to come into the country in the first damn place. Everything that you were predicated, including overturning those anti-Asian laws, was because of us. Us alone. Only us. And then your expansion into the country was because of us. Your ability to move like you were moving unmolested while we were getting shot and killed and everything else was because of us. There is no bloody Sunday in the Asian community anywhere. There is no bombing of the Black Wall Street in the Asian community anywhere. There is no incident like Move in the Asian community anywhere. So we put in work. Folk lost lives to make sure you were good, to make sure that nobody else would have to go through what we went through, and we still continue to go through it. And the folks that we helped turned around and told us, yeah, you need to work harder. There is a cost to doing that. Now you talking like us. No, you got to get to the back of the line. We need help. We need investment. We need resources. No. We first up. We first up. We made sure y'all were good. You got a Chinatown. We don't have a black town. We first up now. Cut the check. After we good, the rest of y'all can do what you do. But from here on in, we first up. We made sure the rest of you got that. We made sure the rest of you were all right. As soon as we made sure everybody was all right, they turned around and kicked us in our ass. No, we up next. We got next all day, all night. And we gonna sit on it till we're good. And then after we're good, y'all do whatever you do from there. But there is a cost to helping racism. There is a cost to being a collaborator. There's a cost to this. And if you wish to avoid that from here on in, then stop being part of the problem. Being part of the solution is not becoming collaborators with white supremacy because it'll make it easier for us. This is what making it easier for you ends up like. It ends up like this. Well, you're talking about, we ain't just talking about some poor city somewhere. They're talking about New York. They're talking about Seattle. They're talking about Philadelphia. I've been to the Chinatowns and all those places. And what you found out is that you're vulnerable. For the exact same strategies that worked against us, you're now finding out you're vulnerable. And now you're saying the exact same thing that we said. Remember in New York City, they had a program to give money to the restaurants in New York. Remember? To the Asian restaurants in New York. Remember as a matter of fact, I think that program is still running. Matter of fact, I think they still got that program to give them money to these Asian businesses while telling black folk ain't no money for us. Exactly what we said. So for us now, you don't need no help. For you all, woe is me. No. Cut the check. Cut the check. Got to get it. There is a cost to helping racism. There is a cost to collaborating with white supremacy. There is a cost to it. And if we jump up and get in the way, you all are going to think this is okay to keep doing. You're going to think it's all right to keep doing this to us. You cannot have people who deal with you treacherously and then you allow that to slide. It becomes a lifestyle. Enough is enough. Enough is more than enough. Tonight's program has been a bit of a flamethrower, but it was necessary here to deal with this in depth. I promised you all at the beginning of the program that we're going to do a deep dive into this. You have walked away now with the insight and analysis you'll receive nowhere else. Now you've been intellectually armed to be able to make the right arguments going forward. We're going to go ahead and wrap things up here tonight. I want to thank everyone tonight here. I want to thank everyone who has contributed to support tonight's program on PayPal, CashApp, Super Chat, Venmo. Queen Nile, thank you very much for your support, sister. We appreciate that. Shawnee Blake, I see you over there misbehaving. My man Cornell Sly supporting the B1 Media. We appreciate that, brother. O'Brien Tucker. And everyone else here, if you are new here to the Black Channel, welcome to the Haven of Intelligent Black Thought. We do this every weekend. Click that red subscribe button. Click that yellow notification bell. Join us each and every time that we're here. If you haven't been to our website, blackchannelfilms.com, you want to go and check out our groundbreaking, best-selling documentary work, 7 a.m. Gentrified Race War. I mentioned them on tonight's program. I hope that you see how pertinent they really are. If you haven't seen them, it's time to get caught up. They are every bit, 100,000%, every inch as relevant today as they were the day I made them. Every prophecy has come to pass. Every prediction has happened exactly the way I predicted, both in black society and now, as you see, these are solid socioeconomic principles. You're now seeing them take effect outside black society. You are up to code. Thank you to Mr. Richburg, New B1 Media's lifesaver, and to everyone else who has contributed to support tonight's program. And this concludes this broadcast of The Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, The Black Authority. And until next time, my brothers and my sisters from around the world, remember, black is the future, and the future is uncompromising.